All right. Hey everyone, welcome to another Monday night live stream teach and play. Normally with Michael and Mandy, but Mandy is coming back from PAX Unplugged, was the latest convention that she got to go to. So I'm once again joined by Susan, aka Rapunzel.
Hello.
And tonight we're going to be going over Trickerion. We'll see if I've bitten off more than I can chew with this one, but we will do our best to explain the great game of Trickerion. So, first to start off, if you do have any questions or comments, you can reach us at MichaelandMandiPlay@gmail.com. And then I can also be found on Instagram as Pawlom, P-A-W-L-O-M. And I think that's about it. We've already got an active chat, so that's fantastic. We've got some regulars, Ziggy Bobinator, and Needs of the One is already in there. That's great. We've got Gary Gilliam with us. Fantastic. All right. So we are going to be playing as illusionists and trying to put on the best show possible to gain as much fame as possible. We're going to be teaching the basic version because there are a lot of moving parts within this game. And the base box does come with what's called the Dark Alley expansion. We're not going to cover that tonight. If there is interest, we might be able to do a second teach and play later on, just going over what the expansion adds and then playing another game. But the base game itself is played over the course of 5 rounds or 5 weeks thematically. And we will just cover the base game. And we will try and remember that we are only playing base game. We've played the expansion a lot, and we actually really enjoy the expansion, but we're just going to be covering base game. So, shall I get into it?
Let's do it.
Okay. So yes, we are going to be playing as illusionists, trying to pull off tricks. The general flow of the game is we will have a starting trick, and we can learn more tricks along the way. We're going to want to buy our components to perform those tricks. We'll need to set them up in our workshop, prepare them in our workshop, set them up backstage at the theater, and then ultimately perform those tricks in the theater. So that's the loose flow of how the game is going to work. The board looks quite busy. For anybody that has not seen the board before, I know that looks like a very busy board, but it's not that bad. Thematically, they've got some great artwork on here, and I love the background behind each of the locations. But the spots on the board are not that hard to get a hold of or understand. So I will start by showing you the board. I will have to show you the back side of the board, just because it folds easier. So the first thing I'm going to show you is anything that is in the Dark Alley expansion. We'll go with the overhead here. Anything that is in the Dark Alley expansion is going to have this black cat symbol on it. So you're going to find that on the back of the board, in the case of the version that we're playing. You'll find that on the back of the magician cards. You'll find that on some of the tricks and some of the other cards as well. So we will not be using anything with that black cat expansion. So again, that's what that symbol is there. That represents the Black Alley expansion. But looking at the board, one of the locations that you can go to is downtown. So this is where you're going to go to hire more people to help you out, get money, or learning more tricks. So if you're looking at the board here, the only thing you really need to worry about are these 4 spots. This is a worker placement game. Those are the spots that you will be placing your workers. Now, in the case of a 2-player game, 2 of those spots get removed. So above 2 of the spots, this one says 3-player, this one says 4-player, we will be blocking those spots off, so they will not be used. I'm going to go into greater detail of what you can do at those locations. But one of the things I want to point out is, again, I love the background. So this location is the Anvil Pig Inn, because that's where you go to get some more people to work for you. So you can hire a manager, hire an assistant, so on and so forth. So you go to the inn to hire people. You go to the Bank of Magoria. This is the city of Magoria that's represented here. You can go to the bank to get money. And then the location in the middle is the Dalgard's residence, and that's where you're going to go to get spells. But I'll cover how you do all of that in a bit. Another location on the board that you will be going to is Market Row. So here's Market Row represented. And again, all you need to worry about really are these 4 spots. That's where you're going to be placing your workers. Everything else that is shown on the board is basically visual representations of what you can do at the locations. So base game, I think base game, once you know the rules, it is language independent. I don't think there's really any reading to do, now that I think about that. There is once you incorporate the Dark Alley expansion, because there are cards that come in with reading required. So Market Row, again, I'll show the board just so you can see the background. These are the 4 spots of items that you can purchase at that time. I'll cover that in greater detail once we get into it. So you can see in the back of it, there's actually stalls here, market stalls. And then these are spots for components that you can order that will be available on a later turn. And that's why you've got sort of this shipping route coming in, because you can order those parts in. So I love thematically how they've set up the background. It does make the board look a little busy, but I think flavor-wise it's tasty. And the last location on the board that we'll be worrying about in the 2-player basic game is the theater. So there's the theater. That's a little busier, but once again, the only spots you need to worry about are these circles. And when you go to the theater, you will be picking one of these days. So this is representing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you will only be able to pick one of those days on any given week. And I'll cover how that's going to work later. Anything else that is all around the board here, all around the theater, are just visual representations again of what you can do or how you're scoring points. And then speaking of points, I'll show a bit more of it. It'll be hard to show the whole thing, but the seating around the theater, all around that semicircle, that's the scoring track. So I love how that looks as well. It's seating in the theater, but that is the scoring track. I think that's all I need to show on the board before I actually get everything set up. So I'll throw this back out, putting it this way, I believe. Let's see. Yes, perfect. Such. Now everything that we have here is, let's see here, gameplay wise, we are not using anything, like I said, from expansions, but everything you see here is not necessarily going to be in the box. I do have custom inserts, which these are fantastic inserts. I will give a shout out to Meeple Realty. That was the first thing I ordered when I did get this game, was I ordered the insert, and I'll show how some of them work. Not needed obviously for the game, but it does make setup a lot easier, especially with the component tiles. And custom coins. I did order the coins as well. It normally comes with punchboard coins. But again, that's just aesthetics. Okay, so that is the board. Once you have the board out, you will be putting all of the tricks above the board. There are spots. Now again, this is part of the custom insert, is that holder, but there are spots at the top of the board, and we can see that. That's good. So there are 4 spots at the top of the board for the 4 different categories of tricks that we'll be doing. So we've got mechanical. Let's see here. I'm going to grab one from each. Okay. So the 4 symbols. You've got sort of a cog that represents mechanical. That swirl symbol is spiritual. The links are escape, and the eye is optical. Those are the 4 schools of magic that we will be trying to learn. And the cards are going to be sorted at the top, because you'll get to learn any tricks you wish. These don't get randomized. So they'll be sorted by their school of magic, and then you can also sort them by their fame threshold. So I'll show you one card in detail, and this will actually be my starting trick, Enchanted Butterflies. So again, you've got the School of Magic indicated at the top, the name of the trick, Enchanted Butterflies. I'll get into what these symbols mean in a bit, but in the bottom corner here is the fame threshold. And for each trick, or each category I should say, there are 4 level 1, tier 1, 4 tier 2, and 4 tier 3 if you get into the expansion. But that 3rd tier won't be used in the base game. So those will get set up at the top of the board. And again, they're set up there because that is the downtown location where you would go to learn those tricks. After that, you're going to have Market Row. So Market Row, as I was saying, is where you're going to be going to buy components. And these are the components. So I will show 3 different tiers of components.
It's cool to see visitors checking in from all around the world. We've got the UK, we've got Greece,
Ooh.
Australia. This is really exciting.
Nice.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you all for joining us.
Yes.
Okay, so components are these chits. And you've got 3 different colors, and you can see the spots at the bottom indicate the level of components. So you've got basic components, have the 1 dot. That also represents how much it costs to purchase them. So in this case, a basic component costs 1 coin. Then you have advanced at 2 coins and level 2, and superior are 3 coins and level 3. And you can see they're all color-coded. So looking at all of the components that are available, and I will have to show how this component holder works. So there are all of the components. So you have 4 of them at each level. And just to show, because I think this is fascinating myself. I love this, this holder. I always kind of, I'll say feared setting up the game because I do like sorting these all out into their stacks. You don't need to. You could have them all in a bowl and just try and find the components you're looking for. But it is engraved with Market Row at the top and folds up nicely. And then when you open it, it's just that slides up so that they're all displayed properly, and then they have locks on the side, which I think it's kind of neat myself and makes setup so much easier. They're always sorted, ready to go. All right, and then so Market Row is going to have 1 of each of the basic components to start. So the 4 basic components are cloth, glass, oops, wood, and metal. So we've got cloth, glass, wood, and metal. Those are the 4 basic components that start in the Market Row. If you don't mind setting those up. I'll show how the market is going to work. I'll show each location how it works as we get to it, because if I tried to explain everything up front, I would probably just bore myself as well. So I want to get into the game as quickly as possible to show you how it works. But that's what you need to start with the setup, is 1 of each of the basic components. Okay, then we've got the performance deck. So magicians can't perform without a stage or a theater to perform in. So the performance deck on the basic level, because it's played over the course of 5 weeks, is going to start with 4 cards, 2 in the Riverside Theater and 2 in the Grand Megorian, stacked with the Riverside Theater on top. Those are the more basic of the theaters that we're going to be playing in. And then you're going to be setting out across the top of the board. There's spots at the top for the theaters to be put out. So the first one is going to be face up. The number of theaters that you put face up, and again, it will be those Riverside Theater cards, it will be the number of players minus 1. So in a 2-player game, we're only going to have 1 theater to start for that first week. So I'll show you the front of a theater card. So here's a Riverside Theater. It's got the name of it up top. These are where we will be preparing or setting up our tricks. I'll show you how that works later. And then you're going to have the theater bonus at the bottom for the headlining act at that location. So the first one will start here. If we were playing in a 4-player game, you would have 3 theaters to start going around, and these will rotate around and eventually start getting removed as well as we get into later rounds. Everything else is going to be set in the center. So we've got, as I said, we do have the custom coins here. It would normally be the punchboard tokens. And we have Trickerion shards, which, show that up there, are the acrylic tokens. right, we've got that. Now, because we are playing in a two-player game, as I mentioned, we are going to be blocking off spots that we can't use, and you can just do that with a player color that is not being used. So I will hand you those. So it is the middle two spots that would get blocked off of the board. So we will only be playing with the far left and far right. And I'll explain the action point bonuses on those when we get to that. All right, then you're going to be choosing your magician. So that is the board setup. Now we look at our own personal player boards. So the first thing you're going to do is choose your magicians, and there can only be one magician from each school of magic. So Susan has decided to play with Electra. I do have our pictures shown there above us who's playing what, but I'll show them here as well. So Susan is playing as Electra, and she is the you are mechanical, and I am playing as the gentleman.
The gentleman.
The gentleman. And I am from the School of Optical Magic. Then you will also have your posters. So these are our poster cards used for advertising. I'll show you how that works when we get to the actual gameplay. So you'll have your character card and your poster. Character card goes on your board. Now I'll show both sides actually. We're only using the basic side. So again, that is the front side that we're playing the basic game. If you're playing with the Dark Alley expansion, and as I said, it would have that little black cat in the corner, each player would actually have variable powers. But we're playing with the base game, so no powers, that's just a representation of who we're playing as. And the boards as well. So I'll show my board. There's one board for each school. I'll show this one up here. So the eye here is what represents the School of Optical Illusions. Mechanically, each board is the exact same. They all do the same thing. But thematically, each of the, this is your workshop. Each workshop is different. So I'll show you the other two schools that we're not using. So there's the School of Escape Magic. And then this would be, that would be Mystical. Sorry, Spiritual. So they all work the exact same, just thematically showing different artwork. So once you've got that, then next is going to be all of your components. So you're going to start with your magician. I'll cover the assistant in a second, and an apprentice. So these are the workers that you're placing on the board. So the top hat represents yourself as the magician, and the number in the bottom shows how many action points you get without modifications. That is your base action point value. You'll also start with an apprentice, which is represented by the glove, base value of 1 action point. The other things that you will have are your trick markers and symbol markers. So you're going to have 4 symbols in the 4 different suits of a regular deck of cards: spades, hearts, clubs, and diamonds. And then with each suit, you'll have 4 of these markers. And these are markers that represent the tricks that you have prepared. So there's 4 identical ones, and they have the 4 schools of magic on the outside of it. And you're going to be using those to set up your tricks in the various theaters. So there's 4 different sets, 1 for each of the suits. All right.
And
any questions?
Yes, actually,
Yes.
as
All
Ziggy
right.
Bobbinator asked, what characters go with the schools of magic or the schools of tricks that we're not currently using? There's actually 1 male and 1 female character for each school.
I'll show the. So you've got 2 represented for each of the various schools. I'll just show quickly. There are the posters. I love the artwork on this. So those are the posters for all the other magicians that you can play as. but they are represented male and female, as well as the assistants or the specialists that you can hire are also represented. So I think that's what I'm getting into next. I'll just skip ahead to that because I am going to show that. We will be starting with a starting specialist. So in the case of myself, I'm going to be starting with a manager. So here's the manager board, and it's going to have its own token again. So that pocket watch represents the manager, and they have 2 action points, but you can have it on either side. So you could hire a male or female manager, and same thing with, let's see, you have the assistant. So there's the assistant, female side and male side. So they both do the exact same thing, but you get to pick which side. And then I will show the other thing you can hire is an engineer. I'll show one of those as well. So there's the engineer. And each of those do something different that I'll explain as we're playing. All right. You are going to also start with 9 assignment cards. So like I said, this is a worker placement game, and these are the cards that you use for assignment. So you've got different colors representing the different locations. So there are 4 different locations we can go to. You've got 3 theater cards, 2 Market Row, and then 2 downtown and 2 workshop cards. And this is a game with simultaneous action selection. So you're going to be selecting these cards, placing them face down next to the workers that you wish to be placing on the board. Once everybody has placed them face down, then you reveal all at the same time, which means you will have conflict because you don't know what the other person is choosing. So this is definitely a game where you can have a lot of player interaction and trying to block the other person by getting to a location before the other players. So you start with those 9 base ones. Then you're also going to start with a trick from a base level trick from your favored category. So again, I am doing optical illusions. So my starting trick is going to be Enchanted Butterflies, and that's the card that I had shown you before. Now you get to pick any of the 4 that you wish. What we're doing for this playthrough is using the recommended starting setup for a player board. Yes, we're going to use the recommended because this is how you should start with your first game, because it can be a little intimidating to try and pick everything up front without knowing how you're going to try and lead into the game. So the recommended ones are a great way to start. We have played games without using the recommended, and once you know the game, get a few plays in with the recommended ones, then you'll have a better idea of what you're looking to pick. So the recommended ones, I'm going to show you this trick again. On this side, it shows you the materials required to be able to do this trick, to be able to, first of all, prepare it and then perform it. So in this case, it's 2 cloth for the Enchanted Butterflies. Whereas, let's get something a little more complex in here. If I was to go with, self-decapitation. I think you just need a head and a saw for that, but let's see. Self-decapitation, you can only do that trick once, right? What do we need here? We need 3 metal. So looking at self-decapitation, 3 metal, a saw, and a disguise. So the more complex trick are going to require more components, but will yield better results. So the starting recommended trick for optical illusions is the Enchanted Butterfly. It requires 2 cloth. I'll show this once more. So the numbers in the middle, this would be the yield whenever you perform this trick. So in this case, 2 fame, no money. Pretty basic, but it is a basic trick. So I did say that if you were not using the recommended setup, you would get to pick. This is the handy dandy Magician Workbook. And inside, and I love this, these are all of these spells represented. I said it, spells. They are not spells, they are tricks This is Trickerion, not Spellarion. I knew one of us would do it, and I ended up doing it first. Okay, so these are tricks. And these are all the different schools of magic that you can do. The way to look at this is the top row is the first tier, second row is the second tier, and then the bottom one is the third tier. So again, you can see here, it's got the black cat represented because that's the Dark Alley expansion. So we won't be doing any of those third tier tricks. I almost said it again, but I didn't. And they pretty much increase from left to right in difficulty and component requirement, but also in the yield that you get for performing them. So the recommended starting one is always going to be the far left at the top. The reason being, the next thing that I'll show you is you also get to start with a 2 cost worth of components. So with the enchanted butterflies, the recommended is starting with the 2 cloth that's needed to set up the trick. Because if you have the components required for that trick at the start, you actually get to have it prepared for free automatically. That's not going to mean a lot now if you've never played the game. I'll try to remember to revisit that concept later on once you see what you actually have to do to prepare a trick. So it's nice to have them prepared ahead of time. When you have a trick, you're going to assign it one of the suits. So I'll just grab one. It doesn't matter which one. Basically, it just represents this trick is the spade trick because I'll be putting tokens out on the locations to represent where I'm doing the tricks. And then on the card, so this is the other thing that's represented on the card, you just put the token here to represent which suit it is. And then on this side, you can see there's sort of the 2-layered box. That means you get to put 2 of those tokens, those trick tokens, on top of it. And you need those to be able to set up the trick in the theaters. So this will make much more sense once we get into it, which is why I don't want to spend too much time with the explanation.
Hello, Robert.
Hello,
Just
Robert.
waving.
All right, wave right back. So again, it'll always be, the recommended will always be that top left one, and the reason is each of those tricks in the top left only require 2 components at the basic level, which is the 2 cost of components that you can take for free. Now let's say in optical illusions I went with card manipulation, which is also a first tier trick. The problem with that one is I need 3 cloth and 3 wood. So I will not have the components required to have that prepared ahead of time. All right, but yes, the Magician Workbook, fantastic, because you don't have to be looking through the cards to see what other tricks there are available to learn. Everybody has their own workbook to look at. There are 4 of these that come with the game. Okay, gonna push on. So next up, we have our trick card in the workshop with the spell. All right, starting component value 2, I covered that. Now, when I say starting component value, starting component with a value of 2, it can be 2 of the 1 cost or 1 of the 2 cost. You get to take your pick. So that's important when you go to play beyond the recommended starting setup. Then you get your specialist. So again, in the case of the recommended, it recommends I start with a manager, which each specialist will come with their own starting bonus at the beginning of the game. They don't get this when you hire them later on in the game. So when you start with a manager, you get 1 additional component with a value of 2, or 2 components with a value of 1. So the recommended starting component for the manager in this setup is animal. So that represents animal. And that's going to go on the manager's board. And what a manager provides, there's 2 spots here to hold additional components. You can only hold 6 spots worth of components. You can stack the same component onto the same spot, but you can only hold 6 different types. The manager extends that to 2 more, but has an additional benefit. You can see there's this red box underneath. If you have any components here, that's considered to be 1 additional of that component. So in this case, I'm starting with 1 animal, but because it does go onto my manager's board, I now have 2. And there's ways you can move components back and forth. I'll cover that later though. So for yourself, you're starting with the assistant. The assistant, if it is your starting specialist, comes with an apprentice. So Susan actually has 4 workers right off the start, 3 plus herself. I only have a total of 3. My manager, an apprentice, and myself.
And the best part about the apprentice that comes with the assistant board is that I don't have to pay them. They have an action and I don't have to pay their wages, but more on that coming later.
Yes, normally you have to pay, but the benefit with that one is it's free. And again, you only get that starting one. Excuse me 1 second, getting a little thirsty. You only get that starting one if it is your beginning specialist. If you take the the assistant later on, if you go to the inn to hire an apprentice later on, an assistant later on, you would have to move an existing apprentice over to the assistant to have them as a free assistant. We'll get into paying them later. All right, we're almost there. Then we need to randomize starting order. So I will take these.
That one.
All right, red. So I'm going to be first. You'll be now in a 2-player game. So there are 4 spots along the left side of the board. In a 2-player game, you're only using spots 1 and 3. So I'm going to block off those other spots. We'll grab just 2 of these, put face down. And that's where you're going to be putting your poster to advertise. I'll cover advertising once we actually start playing. It's a very simple step, but it is an important one. So we've got our starting order. That also indicates how much money we start with. So everybody gets to start with 10 plus an additional 2 moving. So 10 for the first player, and then 12, 14, 16. It goes up by 2 each spot. And again, because we're playing in the first and third positions, it'll be 10 for myself and 14 for Susan. So go ahead and grab your starting money. And then we also get 1 shard each. I'll cover what the shards do later. And then we have the Trickerion stone, which is a large amber shard, if you will, that represents the week counter. So again, basic game, we're going to be playing over the course of 5 weeks, so 5 rounds. And finally, trackers, we'll be starting with a fame of 5. So as I said, the seating in the theater is the point tracker or fame tracker. We're going to be starting at 5 because there are ways that you can lose fame in this game. The most obvious way is going to be not being able to pay your employees. They don't like that, and you do lose fame for that.
Stephen has a question.
Yes.
Are we using Dalgard's gift rules for 2-player?
No, we are only doing the base game in this because that'll be enough to teach for this sitting. But as I said at the start, if there is enough interest, we could do a second video at some point explaining all of the expansion. We actually love the expansion, especially in a 2-player game using the Duel of Magicians expansion from Dalgard's Gifts. I think that's pretty much the only way to play in 2-player. But we want to cover the base game first, and for anybody that only has the base game, this is how you would play with 2 players. But if you are interested in that, it's something we could do at a future date.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're set up, ready to go. I think that's enough talking. I'm first, so I'm going to I'll cover each step as we're doing it, instead of explaining the night away. So the first step is going to be rolling dice. So I haven't shown these yet. We've got 6 dice here in 3 different colors, or shades, if you will, that represent the 3 different locations at downtown. So as I said, there's the inn where you can hire people. There's Dalgard's residence where you can learn more tricks. And there's the bank where you can get some money. So to show you a close-up of those, the bank is represented by this, where you've got varying amounts of money that you can pick up, between 3 and 6, and an X. Obviously, if it's an X, you don't get any money. Both of the those dice are the same. Then you have Dalgard's Residence, where you get to learn tricks. That is a wild, and it can be any trick. And then each of the schools of magic are represented once each, plus, again, an X. Both of those dice are the same. The inn has 2 different dice. So you've got one that is for the apprentices, and it's got the gloves, and that's all it is. It's gloves all the way around it, except for one side. So there's a 1 in 6 chance that you will not be able to hire an apprentice. The other die represents the specialists. So you've got engineer, assistant, and manager. So those are the 3 sides, and then it's X, X, and X. So there's only a 50-50 chance that there will be a specialist available at the inn to hire, and only a 1 in 3 of that it'll be a specialist that you want. You can only have one of each specialist. So I already have a manager. I cannot hire an additional manager. So the first thing is we're going to be rolling the dice. So the locations will have different things available each round. So I will give you that.
We have a question from Needs of the One.
Yes.
What are you drinking
I know what
tonight?
Needs of the One is going to ask. Yes. Okay. I'm glad I was able to get through all of that first so that I can explain who I am playing as. Again, it's the gentleman, who is specializing in optical illusions. So this is they call it an almost pale ale from a somewhat local, not too far away brewery called Flying Monkeys. This is optical illusion. Can't get much closer than that in a name. Okay, so to start the round, you roll. And again, this is going to represent what is available at each location. So it's going to change every round. Now, that can almost be seen, but I will explain what is out there. It might be hard to see on a smaller device. So what we have available this round, there's an X for the specialist, so no specialists available. And we do have an apprentice. At Dalgard's Residence, we have mechanical and a wild. And at the bank, an X and 4. So that's the money that's available. Now there are ways that you can manipulate those. I'll cover that once we're actually doing the actions though. So you start the round by rolling the dice. Next is going to be setting initiative order. You skip that in the first round because we've already randomized that. But afterwards, turn order is going to be based on fame. Whoever is behind in fame gets to go to first in turn order. So it's a bit like Power Grid if you've ever played that. Turn order will be modified every round. Then you have the option to advertise. So that's where we get to put our posters into play. And it's going to be at different rates. So whoever is first gets to advertise, and it is represented on the board. Can I get, let's see here. No, it's not represented in there. Okay. On the board, it does state for 1 coin, you can get 2 fame, which is a great return on your money. But it's going to get more expensive as you go further down the line. So it's a bit of a catch-up mechanic that's going there, a catch-up mechanism. And again, because we're only using first and third spots, for the third spot, it's 3 coins for 2 fame. Money can be quite tight in this game, but when we started, Susan was able to start with 4 additional coins. So that's the trade-off there. So I almost never say no, unless I'm really hard up for cash, I almost never say no to advertising when I'm in the first spot, because 1 coin for 2 fame, that's worth it.
And I very seldom do advertise when I'm in this position because 3 is a lot of money, but because I did start a little bit flush, I am going to pay and advertise as well. All
right, so an additional 2 fame for you as well. So that's the advertising. Next, it is assignment phase. So now this is where we're going to finally get into the meat of the game. That was almost a 45-minute explanation. Not too bad. I thought it might go to an hour, but that was okay. So assignment phase, that's where we're going to be placing all of the assignment cards. So again, those are the assignment cards we're using, each representing the 4 different locations we can play at. I did mention downtown, Market Row, Theater. The 4th one is your own workshop. You can send somebody to your workshop to do things there as well. I'll cover what each one does as we're going through them. So we start with assigning This is done face down, and then once everybody is done, you flip your assignment cards face up. So the first round is normally a bit of studying to figure out what do we want to do next. Now, again, in the Magician's Workbook, all tricks are represented there, and it's the exact same thing you would see on the cards. So you can see at a glance which materials are required for each of the tricks within each of the categories, which is definitely something you need to consider, because ideally you want to be learning more tricks using the components you already have. Otherwise, you're going to be spending actions to purchase more, and of course spending money to purchase those components as well. All right. Okay. This will probably be the longest point of consideration. This is basically how you're going to be setting up your entire game. So the first round is a little bit of thinking, but it should all go smooth after that. Let's see here.
In the first round, there's also the most limited spaces, because you can't really charge off to the theater right away.
Mm-hmm.
Just noticed I haven't assigned a suit to my first spell trick.
But you do have your components?
I do, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So again, because we had the correct components for the trick that we were going to be performing, we do get to have those prepared. That'll make sense when we take a prepare action, and you can see the value behind that. Okay, we've assigned all of our workers, so then we flip the cards over. And this is where we get to see what we have assigned. So what you want to be looking out for here is, where is there going to be conflict? Because each of these locations, going from left to right, let's say that we had not blocked off those spots, you get additional action point bonuses for being the first one there. So if you're the first one, and it's the same thing for all of the locations, if you're the first one into Market Row, for example, you're going to get an additional 2 action points to spend. And I'll let you know how you spend those action points while you're there, but more action points in any game like this is going to be a good thing. Second one is +1, and then 0. So we are actually blocking off, in a 2-player game, we're blocking off those middle sections, which means first person there gets 2 additional action points. The second person there gets nothing. You only get whatever your base action points are for the worker you placed there. So it's definitely important to be the first to each location. So I can see right now there is a conflict at downtown.
Yes.
We are both wanting to go downtown. We are both wanting to go to Market Row. We've pretty much done the exact same thing, where as ourselves, as magicians, we are both going to go downtown to try and get some actions there. We're sending both of our assistants to Market Row to buy some more of the materials that we need. And then our apprentices are getting sent to the theater to start setting up our tricks. So I get to go first, which means I get to decide which is most important for me. Once I've, say, for example, gone downtown, then there's no rush for Susan to send her magician downtown, because that spot will be there for the rest of the round for her. But having said that, I think downtown is the place to go. So I'm going to send myself downtown. So downtown, I did mention this is where you're going to be hiring more people, learning more tricks, or getting more money. That's what the 3 spots here represent, and it's shown pictorially beneath the dice. Then there's 2 more spots below it. Those are minor actions that have to do with dice manipulation. I, as a magician, so I'll show that again just so you can see. So again, that's representing me, and it does have the 3 on the bottom. So I have 3 action points as a base, plus 2 for being in that first position. I have 5 action points to spend there. Each of these actions takes 3. That leaves me 2 action points that I can use. So if I wanted to take money, for example, I would take 4 coins, because that is what is available on that die. That would take 3 of my action points, and then that would flip to an X as no longer available. But with the additional action points, there are a few things I can do. If I have 1 extra action point, I can roll one of these. I can roll a die and hope for a better result. Or, if you're looking to get into more of the conflict side of things, I could roll a die to try and remove a result. So let's say I was trying to learn a trick. I could take the one that's a wild and then roll this one to try and get an X out of it, or something that would be less favorable for people that are following up with their actions to that location. For 2 action points, I can flip the die to any side I wish. So I could change that X to 6 coins, and then take those 6 coins with the extra 3, with the 3 action points that I had. The last option, because I do have my magician there, and I'm at 5 action points, that's where these Trickerion shards come into play. You can do this once per action per player that you're, or per character that you're putting out onto the board. You can spend a shard to gain 1 more action point. So as I said, each of the main actions at downtown require 3. I'm at 5. I'm going to spend that 1 shard I have to make it 6 action points. So now I actually get 2 full actions at that location. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to get money. So I'm going to get 4 coins for that. And then that flips to the X. X's mean they are not available unless you took one of the actions to either roll the die to get a better result, or 2 action points to flip it to a side that you wish. Then, let's see here. I have options.
It's early game, and already I don't like the look on his face.
I rushed to get there, but I don't know. I don't know. I made it look like it was really important, but
Yes.
I don't know.
Denial of territory.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can do this. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to learn a new trick at Dalgard's residence. Now, I said that there's mechanical and a wild available here. The question mark is you choose. You can always pick from your favorite category as long as there are symbols represented there. So let's say, so that is mechanical and wild, don't let me forget that. Let's say this was the result of the dice roll. You will not be able to learn a trick if those are showing. But let's say this was the roll. So the chains, the linking chains, represent escape magic. I can still learn from optical because that is my favorite category. And then once I pick one of my favorite category, that would still switch to an X, because you always have to flip something to an X whenever you take one of these actions. So that was mechanical and wild. So I'm going to learn Spirit Hand, which is spiritual. All right, thank you. Now, I'll show you why I'm going with Spirit Hand. So to be able to prepare the Spirit Hand trick, I need an animal, which I already have, rope, which I'm going to have to buy, and 3 cloth, or 3 fabric. I've already got 2, so I will either need to buy a 3rd, or take an action to move those over to my manager, which would then represent the 3rd one like I was showing on my player board. So that goes into my 2nd spot. On your own player board, you can only have 3 tricks. If you get the engineer, then he unlocks a 4th spot. If you ever want to learn beyond that, you have to discard one of the tricks along with any of the tokens for it. So then I assign it one of the suits, so I'll make that hearts, but I do not get to put any prepared tokens on there. Now, another thing I'm going to mention is when you learn a trick, you can only learn at the fame threshold that you are at. So in this case, we are both at a fame threshold of 7. If we wanted to learn one of those second tier tricks, so let's say, for example, Shattered Mirror is a trick that is within my favorite category. In the bottom here, that second tier of trick has a fame threshold of 16, which means you need to either be at 16 or higher fame or pay the difference in coins. So if I wanted to learn a 16 threshold trick right now, I would have to also pay 9 coins, which is crazy expensive, but it is an option. So as you start getting closer, maybe it would be worth it to pay the extra in coins before trying to get to that level first. All right, so I did take another trick. Almost said it again. Switch that to an X. That is me.
All right. Now that Michael has used the market, the downtown, there's no hurry for me to get there. He can't do anything further. So that means it's my chance to head him off at the next area of contention, which is Market Row. So I'm going to send my assistant to Market Row. She has 2 action points, and getting into Market Row first gets me a further 2 action points. So this is my opportunity to purchase goods that I need to perform my tricks with.
So Susan's in no rush to go downtown. Let's say hypothetically I had assigned my assistant to also go downtown. Now there's pressure because there's only one spot left and 2 of us that I've assigned. So Susan wouldn't want to get there first unless she thinks I can wait 1 round. She'd want to get in before this one. And if that doesn't, say that Susan did take it and I was not able to place this worker, I would not have to pay for that worker. You only pay once they're actually placed, if they are placed on the board. You will pay for them at the end of the round. So yes, Susan will be looking to buy components for not only any current tricks that she's trying to learn, but also looking ahead. You don't want to be going to Market Row every round because that's an action that you're taking each time. So she's got 4 action points to spend. There are multiple ways to use your action points here. Are you looking to buy or order?
I am looking to buy and order.
Okay, so I'll cover all of the options. So at Market Row, you have the option to purchase any of the components that are currently available. So there's always 4 components available on the left side of the market. The cost of each component is based on its level, as I was showing at the start. So these are all basic components. They all cost 1 coin each. If they were the advanced components, they would cost 2, and if they were the superior components, they would cost 3. It takes 1 action point to purchase 1 type of component. So let's say Susan was looking to buy glass. For 1 action point, she could purchase up to 3 glass. You would never need more than 3 of any component, no matter what tricks you are learning, and components are not limited. So you can't just go and buy up all the glass, preventing other magicians from being able to purchase it. They are always available, and if the tokens run out, you just represent it with something else. So 1 action point to purchase 1 type, up to 3. You can also use action points to reduce the cost. You can barter. So let's say that was all Susan wanted to do, was purchase glass. And she was going to purchase 3 of them. That's 1 of her 4 action points. And then for every action point you barter with, it drops the cost by 1, your total cost for your whole order by 1, to a minimum of 1. You always have to pay at least 1. So she would still be left with 1 action point in that case. 1 to purchase the glass. 3 glass would cost her 3 coins, so she could use 2 more action points to drop that cost to 1, and then 1 action point would be wasted. But I suspect she's going to do more than that. So that is the buying of what is there. You can also order components. So that is how you're going to get these more advanced components in there. And what you would do is whatever component you wish to order, you would put it on the right side. So you've got a 2x2 square on the right side that represents the same thing on the left. You would put it in one of those 4 squares. At the end of the round, orders are going to arrive and replace whatever's in that corresponding square on the left side. So in this case, glass would come out and the petroleum would go into its spot. And then anybody can go there on a later turn to then purchase that component. So that would be ordering. There's one more thing you can do there, and it is fast order. If you need it now, Amazon Prime kind of thing. If you need it now, you can take a component. So this is going to take 2 action points and put it in the middle. You still have to spend 1 action point to then also purchase it. So it's 2 to fast order it, 1 to then purchase it, and it also costs an additional coin for each of those components you're purchasing. So in this case, putting a saw there would take 2 action points to put it there, 1 action point to purchase it, and each one instead of 2 is going to cost 3. So it's a very expensive way to do it. But if you need to Amazon Prime that thing, then you're going to pay for it. At the end of the round, that's going to disappear, or if anybody else wishes to fast order, they can just replace that with something else. And at the end of the round, it is gone. But it's also available for anybody else for the entirety of that round. So I could go in and purchase whatever was already fast ordered. Okay, any questions? People getting it?
So far, so good.
All right. So you are there with 4 action points.
I'm there with 4 action points, and I wish to buy another metal, 3 wood.
Okay, so let's start getting this out. I'll get those out while you name them off.
And I
1
wish
metal.
to order in a padlock.
Okay, 3 wood, and ordering a padlock. So I'll let you place that where you wish. Okay, so action point wise, the way that you can look at this, 1 action point to purchase the wood. Doesn't matter how many, it's the same type of component. So 1 action point to purchase the wood, 1 action point to purchase the metal, 1 action point to order a padlock. That leaves her with 1 action point. Total cost of the current components is going to be 4, and then she can use that action point to barter, dropping it down to 3. So those components will cost her 3. All right. And then the padlock, like I said, at the end of the round, there's a phase where any of those components that were ordered would arrive, replacing anything that is currently there. So what I need to watch out for is if I need glass, I need to order it now. Otherwise, or I need to purchase it now. Otherwise, I'm going to have to order it on a later turn because it will no longer be there. It's going to be replaced. And that's another level of player interaction. Once you've played a few times, you can start looking around to see, okay, I see you're going to be trying to prepare that trick and you're short on that material. I'm going to order something to replace it to force them to either buy it now or have to waste actions later to get it back into the market.
You may have seen me checking my cookbook while he was explaining the system. I was looking up the spell that he had purchased the trick that he had purchased to see if there's a way I could block his access. There wasn't, so.
No, I already have the basic components I need. However, I do want to learn beyond this. Let's see. I think I should be okay. All right.
Or whatever.
Or whatever, yeah.
Totally not trying to block you.
And we should probably make, well, yeah. I was thinking we should make that a drinking game. Anytime somebody says spell, you can make that a drinking game at home. Anytime somebody says spell, take a drink. Okay.
I take no responsibility for you if you do that.
Family show.
Yes.
Okay. So that's your 4 actions.
Yes.
Back to me. So I do have my manager going to Market Row. There's no rush anymore because Susan's already taken the first spot. And I have an apprentice going to the theater. So the way the theater works, I'm going to cover action point bonus and penalty first. I'll do this in phases. So like I said, we've got from left to right, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Whenever you place your first token in one of those 4 days, that is the only day you can take, and nobody else can go in that spot. So let's say I had placed my apprentice in the Friday time slot, then nobody else can place in Friday, nor can I place on any other day. Now this is important because Thursday gives you an action point bonus. If you go to Thursday, you're actually going to get 1 action point bonus in each of these spots. However, if any of your tricks are performed, and it doesn't matter which day they are performed on, if you are anywhere in Thursday, you're going to take a penalty to all of your yields of 1 fame and 1 money. They'll be taken away from all of your tricks. Conversely, if you go Sunday, the opposite end of the spectrum, you're going to take an action point penalty. You're going to lose an action point when you go here. However, you're going to get a yield bonus of +1 fame and +1 money. So placement can be very important at key times to try and get or avoid those bonuses or penalties. Now, I am not looking to perform, so where I go is irrelevant. I might as well take, it's actually going to be irrelevant as well right now, but normally what I would look to do is take that, take the +1 action point bonus, because none of my tricks are going to be performed. And I'll take it anyway, just to show. When you place any workers backstage, that is how you then set up tricks that you already have prepared in your area. Yeah, and I won't be able to get any more. So let's cover setting up tricks. So again, that's the theater that is available. Right now we only have one theater because there were only 2 players, so it was number of players -1 is your starting theaters. And this is where we will then be placing those tokens in the squares that are on the theater. Now, let's see if I can get a close-up here. Let's go this way. So I did mention on those tokens, you have each of the 4 schools of magic represented around the token. So when you're placing this in the theater, whichever school of magic that trick is coming from must be placed within these linking circles at the corner of the diamonds. So in my case, this is an optical illusion. So the eye at the top of that token will have to be placed within one of those circles. So you have a bit of a spatial puzzle happening here, because you can get linking bonuses. So let's say I had put an optical trick here, and then let's say I had another trick, and let's say it was escape. So escape magic would mean I would have to put these linking chains within a circle. So let's say I did so. That might be tricky to show this. Okay. And of course my hand is covering everything there. Shadows. I'll show the one by itself first. So I've got the linking chain here within one of those circles. What that results in is the 2 eyes representing optical are both within a circle. That gets you what's called a linking bonus. And they don't need to be your own tricks that are linked. You can link with other players' tricks. And the bonus is going to correspond to the level of the trick that you are placing at the time. Not the trick that is already in the theater, but the trick that you're actually placing. And the tier of the trick is how much fame or money you get to take. So in the case of linking a level 1 or a tier 1 trick, you can take 1 fame or 1 money. If it's a tier 2, which would be at fame threshold of 16, then you can take 2 fame or 2 money, and then playing with the expansion it gets into tier 3, but we don't need to worry about that right now. One more thing to show you with a linking bonus. Each theater has 1 circle that has a Trickerion shard in the middle, and this sort of encourages magicians to work together, or if you can pull it off with your own tricks, to link within that circle. Because, let's say I do place this one, so again I'm doing optical. So let's say I place this one this way and have the, looking at this going backwards, tricky. All right, so I have the eye within the circle. If Susan was to then put an eye up here, or myself, but it would have to be a different trick, we would get, or she would get, or whoever places it, would get the linking bonus, but then each magician that is involved in that link would get a Trickerion shard. And you saw those can be quite valuable because it gives you an extra action point. So I am going to set up. I could do 2 action points worth of tricks. Each trick that you set up takes an action point. I have 2 preparations of enchanted butterflies. but you can only put one of each type of trick into each theater. The audience doesn't want to see the same trick multiple times. There are ways around that in the expansion using some powers, but don't need to worry about that in the base game. So it is optical. It's going to have to go somewhere in here using optical. Let's see here. You are using mechanical. Going to see if I can somehow trigger. It can be done. So I'm going to actually leave an opening for Susan to link to this trick, because we would both get the shard the way that I've got this placed. And that would go up top.
I find the mini game of making the links very challenging from a spatial relations aspect. I will confess, I usually ask Mike's help in figuring out the best way to lay them down, because my brain does not work that way.
Yeah, it's very puzzle oriented with the spatial reasoning behind how to place those tokens down in an optimal fashion to try and get as many links as possible. So the links are important for two reasons. One, you get that bonus immediately for creating the link. But two, whoever performs in that theater will also get link bonuses. Whoever is the headliner act at that theater will get bonuses as well. One thing I will mention as well, I had mentioned that the shards get you one additional action point. The only place that you cannot do that is at the theater. The theater, you are left with whatever action points you bring, plus or minus any of the bonuses or penalties depending on the day that you take. You are not allowed to use shards at the theater. When you're using shards at other locations, you're limited to one. You can only use one shard at a time. Okay, so I am kind of wasting an action point there. I only needed the one, but there we have it. As we move on, we're going to be getting more theaters out here, and then I would have been able to place, even though it was the same trick, I could have placed it into two different theaters to be a little more efficient with actions. That's me.
All right. I will send one of my own apprentices to the theater.
Which day would you like?
Just Friday.
Okay. So Susan's sending her apprentice to the theater. They only have one action point natively. If she was to send them to the Sunday slot, it would be -1 action point. They would be just twiddling their thumbs backstage. So you said Saturday?
Yes, please.
Okay. So 1 action point to spend.
And I'm going to place a trick in the theater.
And I know you usually refer to me. I'm sure you can figure that one out.
All right.
So that is mechanical. So it's a mechanical trick. That little gear symbol needs to be within one of the circles.
Woo!
Ta-da! So let's see here. I'll see if I can show this on the overhead. Just lift it straight up.
Oh, nice.
All right. So there you can see that mechanical is within that middle circle, but in doing so, Susan has linked the optical symbols together in that shard circle, which means, first of all, you get 1 fame or 1 money.
I will take a fame.
Okay.
S'il vous plaît.
And then because it was within the shard, each magician involved in that link gets a shard, so we both get a shard. All right, that was you.
Yes.
Back to me. So I've got my manager is going to go to market for me. So we've already covered all the actions in Market Row. If anybody has any questions along the way, let me know. But I'm not going to repeat all the actions. The only thing I haven't covered yet is the workshop, and I'll cover that when we actually have somebody going to the workshop. I'll let you know what the options are there. Okay, so going to Market Row, I've only got 2 action points, with a potential third if I wanted to spend that Trickerion shard that I now have. I need to take a quick look to see what it is I need. I need that. I think I'm just going to be ordering some components. Okay. So 2 action points, I'm going to order 2 components. I will order, if you don't mind grabbing, rope and a cog, please. All right. Let's see here. I will place the rope here and the cog there. That's me.
All right. I'm now going to send myself
Yep.
downtown. I have 3 action points natively, and there are no action point bonuses in this final spot. Now, sadly, Mike took the action that I wanted. I wanted to use that wild.
Oops.
Yeah. He's regretful, I'm sure.
Did I do that?
So at this point in time, my only option is to spend a shard and roll either one of the dice to perhaps get lucky and get the type of trick that I would like to learn, or perhaps get some money. I think the odds are better of getting some money out of this than actually rolling the type of trick.
So the type of trick obviously isn't from your favored school,
no,
right?
it is not.
Which I did kind of leave Susan in an awkward situation where the only trick that is available is mechanical, and that is her favored, which she can learn at any point if there's any symbols there. So, oops.
So I need to spend a shard in order to gain an action point to roll one of the money dice.
Okay.
So I will roll this and hope that it's something better than an X.
Oh, that's rough. That I did not intend to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. So if she had rolled anything, and there is only the 1 X on there, that was a 1 and 6, so that is an unfortunate roll. Anything, it would have been a minimum of 3 coins, but that's, I will admit, is a tough roll there. Okay. And then I don't have anything left to place. Susan does, but
It's pointless.
it's pointless.
So I'm going to pass.
Yeah, so you do always have the option to flip one of your cards face down, and that means you are not assigning that worker onto the board, which also means you do not need to pay that worker. In terms of payment, you do not obviously have to pay yourself. That's you. You're working for yourself. You do need to pay everybody else, though. All apprentices only cost 1 coin. All assistants cost 2. The exception being Susan's free apprentice does not cost anything, because that came with her assistant. Okay, so yes, Susan's opting not to use that apprentice because it was earmarked for the theater. She's already got a trick prepped in the theater. There's nothing more that she can do, so there's no point in paying that employee. All right, so we've got, after that, it would then be performance phase, if anybody was going to perform. I haven't covered that yet. We'll get to it when somebody does go to perform. Then we're going to pay wages, speaking of which. So I've got an apprentice and my manager out there. That'll cost me 3.
And I've only sent my assistant out, and she's 2.
All right, then we get our workers back. And you can remove your assignment cards. Then the orders arrive. So as I was saying, wherever they were placed, that is the same spot that they remove whatever is currently sitting in the market. Oops. If you don't mind putting those back in. Then we move the performance cards. So the theaters go around the table, and the next one comes in. So each theater is going to have a different setup on the card, and they get more complex as the theaters get to higher levels, and will have higher bonuses on the bottom for the theater bonuses as well. All right, then we remove posters, if you don't mind passing my poster over. Thank you kindly. And turn counter. So we're into week 2, starting by rolling the dice. Some good money there. That's a great roll. Wild for a trick, and 6 and 5 money. Still no specialist, so I'll cover the options. Still no specialist rolled. Again, that's only a 50-50 chance that a specialist will actually roll, and then within that, only 1 in 3 of each one. We have spiritual and a wild for tricks, and then we have 6 and 5 money. Now, setting the initiative order, whoever is in last is going to be in first. So I'm actually going to stay in first, and Susan will stay in that 3rd spot. If it's tied, then you just reverse the order of whoever is tied. So 2-player game. If it was tied, we would actually reverse that. Susan would be first. I would be in the 3rd position. Now we get to advertise, and yes, please. So 1 money gets me 2 fame.
And I will decline to advertise this time around.
It gets more expensive. That's only a $2 difference, but as you can see, money's tight, especially with the bad roll that Susan got, and I do feel bad about that. That was just an unlucky roll there, but I know you'll come back from that. Okay, so now we're back into assignment. So a lot of this, each action in and of itself is not that complicated, but it's a matter of how do you piece them all together in the right order to pull off what you wish to do. I'd like to send somebody backstage to set up another trick for me, but before I can do that, I need to prepare additional tricks. Before I can do that, I need the components. So you can see where order is very important. I haven't covered preparing tricks yet, but we'll cover that when we get to the workshop, and then I'll discuss that a little more. So do that. Yes, I see an error in my ways. Welcome to worker placement.
I shouldn't be petty, but that fills my heart with joy when he says something like that.
We did get a couple plays in over the last week of just the base game because we're used to playing with the expansion. So we wanted to refresh our memory of just what base feels like, and we tied. I won 1, Susan won 1. So it's still close. You know, it's still a tight race. Not competitive at all, right?
No.
No. Okay. Do I want to do that?
I wouldn't if I were you.
No, I think I might not actually. So if I'm not doing that, then I'm going to do that. That. Oh boy. And that.
I feel like I'm playing a shell game.
Yeah.
Swapping these around.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Uno momento, por favor.
Oh no.
I just need to visualize what I'm trying to accomplish here.
I will refrain from watching the overhead camera and seeing his
That's
cards.
true.
That's dirty pool.
Yeah. Okay, so if I do that.
And then the blue wire goes to number 1. And there's a vowel in the serial number.
Exactly. Actually, you know what? If I send that and that. Okay. No. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Worker placement. Let's just go.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Reveal.
All right.
Uh-oh.
Doves. Really?
Sharp balls.
Okay. Not what I expected. I was certain that Susan was going to go to the theater and perform this week. Interesting. So we have conflicts at Downtown and Market Row again. Really? You're not going to perform? Okay. And I go first. Oh, man. I know you need that money. Oh. Will I have tomatoes thrown at me by the crowd? Oh, boy. Yeah, I know you need that money. So as you can see, this is player interaction for sure in a worker placement. Not all worker placement games have it. This one definitely has it, especially in a 2-player game. 4-player, there's still interaction for sure, but there are more spots to be working with. So it's not as face-to-face as it is in two-player. Okay. Take your money.
You're being very kind.
I am being kind. I don't want the fans to start throwing tomatoes at me. Okay, so I'm going to go to market first. I am looking to purchase rope and cog. So let's see here. I'm going to want one cog and one rope. That's all I need there. So that's going to cost me one action for each. That's 2 actions. I have a total of 4. So it'll cost me 5 minus the 2 remaining actions, drops it down to a cost of 3 to get those components. That's me.
All right. Michael has offered me a period of grace, and I will totally jump in there and take it.
Yeah, I feel bad about that roll. That was a really bad roll. So
yoink.
Go get some money.
Okay, so I'm going to downtown, and I'm going to spend my last remaining Trickerion shards. So now I have 6 action points. First of all, I'm going to learn a new trick in the escape discipline.
Okay.
And I will learn stock escape.
Okay.
There we go. And with my remaining 3 action points, I will, of course, take the 6 monies.
Take the money.
Take the monies.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you.
No problem.
I'm aware. That was a kindness.
Yeah, so the trick I want is not available. And stock escape was still
an escape.
tier 1.
Tier
Okay.
1, yes.
Yep. So again, within those thresholds, if Susan wanted to learn a 16 threshold trick, she would need to be either at 16 fame or above, or pay the difference.
Which is prohibitively expensive at this point in time.
Yeah, it is.
The rewards are greater if you can afford it. But
okay, so it's back to me. So there's no rush for me to go downtown. Susan doesn't have any other workers heading there. So I'm going to go... No, sorry, that was me. It's back to you. No, it's not. That was you. I was first. Back to me. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm going to go to the workshop. So you get to see how the workshop works. I'm sending my apprentice. Unfortunately, I am 1 action short of what I need to do. So I will be spending a shard, and you can do that at your workshop as well. So spending 1 shard, I now have 2 action points. The actions you can do at your workshop would be preparing a trick, and that's how you get those tokens on there. So this is where I'll show you. The last thing to show you on one of the trick cards is in this square, there's the 1 action point symbol. Not all of them cost 1. So I'll grab another one from my favored school. Let's say I went with Stairs of Water. Let's not do that. That's one of the expansion ones. Let's go with Shattered Mirror. So you can see with Shattered Mirror, there's actually a 2 action point symbol in here. And what that means is it requires 2 action points to prepare that spell. And when you prepare it, you would then put the number of tokens on it corresponding to the number of squares. So in this case, 2 action points to get 2 preparations of this spell. Whereas the one I'm going to prepare now, it's 1 action point for 2 preparations of that spell trick. Of that trick.
Take a drink.
However, it needs 1 animal, 1 rope, and 3 cloth. I only have 2 cloth right now. So you may be thinking, oh no, how does Michael get out of this? I will show you. Once I put these back, get these back in order. Okay. So for an action point, or for the required number of action points, you can prepare your tricks. You can only do that if there are no tokens on it. You cannot top up existing tricks. So my Enchanted Butterflies does still have one prepared token on it. I cannot top that up with an action point. But with my manager, I'm allowed to, for an action point, swap or move components between my manager's board and my own player board. So one action point is going to move these over to her board. That automatically gives me one more of that component. So now I have 2 animals and 3 of the cloth, and that's what I need to prepare that trick. So now with those components, my other action point will be used to prepare the spirit hand. So I get 2 of the heart labeled tokens, because that's the suit that I assigned to it, on there. And then of course, as we've shown you, those are the tokens you need to then put onto the locations that you'll be performing in.
Yes, the fire-breathing butterflies are the worst. They're absolutely terrifying me.
They are.
All right. I, too, will go to the workshop. And for one action point, I will prepare 2 preparations of my trick.
Yep.
The Stalks Escape.
Okay. And now I will go downtown. We all know how that works. Question is what I'm going to do with it. I was really hoping I would get another specialist at this point, but we have not rolled any. I've only got 3 action points to use, and I have no Trickerion shards. So I am limited to what is available right now. I could take another apprentice, but I think I'm going to take the 5 money. So that will flip to the X. Anytime you take something, you must flip the die to an X. I take 5 money for that. That's me.
I'm going to send my assistant, my assistant,
Your assistant,
to the marketplace, where I shall buy a padlock. So she has 2 action points. It's one action point to purchase. The cost is 3. I can apply the second action point to reduce the cost to 2.
Mm-hmm. You got it. And I'm out of workers.
So I will send my final apprentice to the theater.
Okay, the theater.
The theater. Where I will take the +1 action, please.
Okay, so on the Thursday?
On the Thursday.
So, as I described, if you go on the Thursday, you get an additional action point. However, it's at the detriment of losing 1 fame and 1 money for every trick that gets performed of yours during that week. So, let's say I had sent my magician front stage to perform. If I performed at a location that has any of Susan's tricks, she would actually have to take a penalty for that. But because nobody is performing, that is not a risk. So she can just go there and take that extra action point. I'll cover the actual the performances probably next round. I would think at least one of us is going to perform. And I can move these over for you.
Okay,
so she's already got her linking rings in that first theater. She cannot place a second copy of it there, but she can place her other trick that is ready to go.
I'm not going to be able to get a link with this.
Right, because the heart is your stock escapes, and that is an escape trick. There's no way that she can link that with anything that's available.
And I will place that there to entice you to link with me, and
right,
so we can both get shards.
Sounds good. And that was from on the Thursday. Okay, so that's you?
That's me.
Okay, so then it would be performance if there are any magicians on stage. So in terms of the placement, and you can see that on the board, these 4 spots here actually have the top hat symbol only your token can go there. Only you can be performing the tricks. You're not going to have an apprentice on stage trying to pull off those tricks. It will go horribly, horribly wrong. So only you can be placed here. And all you're doing at that point, you don't have any action points to spend on setting up tricks. All you're doing there is performing the tricks. You can place yourself backstage if you wish to set up your own tricks, but if you place yourself backstage, you will not be performing. You must be on stage to perform. Obviously, if you're backstage, the people can't see you. Okay, so no performances again this week, so we are going to pay our wages. It's going to cost me 3.
And this time it will cost me 3 as well.
Get our characters back. And any orders would arrive if there were any, but we did not order anything this time around. The performance cards move, so now what we need to watch out for, I'll move these over. Third theater comes in. In a 2-player game, you're only ever going to have 3 theaters available. If it was a 4-player game, or sorry, a 3-player game, there would be a 4th card, and then in a 4-player game, you would have a 5th theater card out there. What this means is that in the next round, when we move the theaters, this theater disappears. So if those tricks, yes, I said tricks correctly. Yes. Now I'm actually questioning the right word. If these tricks do not get performed on the next round, they're gone. So there's greater incentive for Susan to perform this one because she's got 2 tricks ready to go and I've got 1. So that's something for me to keep in mind. The pressure's on her to perform at that theater. All right, so we've performance cards, posters, please. And we are into round 3 or week 3 and rolling the dice. Not as favorable this round. And then initiative order. I'm now in first. Susan's in second, so those are going to flip. And advertising, you get first pick.
I do wish to advertise for 1 penny. I'll throw my posters all over town.
Yeah. Come see Electra.
Yes.
What's the tagline on Electra? Underneath her title, I think, or at the bottom.
The Lightning Tamer.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
I am the gentleman, a real charmer. Let his magic charm you.
Oh, yes.
La-ti-da. So, do I wish to charm people for 3 money? That's pricey. Nope. I'm not going to do it. Okay. And assignment. Nope. Satisfying clink of metal coins. Yes, these, I actually get to look at chat for a second. That's exciting. The coins, it's not just a satisfying clink. I'll show you. These are really well done. I've got all kinds of metal coins for various games, but I would actually have to say these are one of the best coins that I've seen.
They're so pretty.
Yeah. And they're thick. They're stamped really well. They've got a nice deep stamp to them. So those are all the different sides. And they're a nice heavy coin. They're not cheap, I will say that. And frankly, I actually wish I had a second set. There's enough here for 2 players. I don't think we've played this with 4 players yet with these coins.
No, I don't think we have enough.
I think you would run out with the 1 set. So yeah, it's purely aesthetic, but I love blinging games out, and those are one of the best blings I've had in terms of coins.
And where did you get the coins from?
Direct from Mindclash Games website. I know they had an initial print run that sold out immediately. Within hours, they were gone. I missed that first order. They released them again. I think it was around Christmas last year. they released a second set. I don't know if they've done any further print runs from there. They may be available. It was directly from their site. I think the biggest problem for me was shipping. I can't remember where they were shipping from, but shipping to Canada was expensive. If it's coming from the States, it might be better for any American viewers, but something tells me it might have actually been coming from the UK. But anyway, it was directly from their website. What I'm hoping, I'll mention this now, they will be running, I've heard, another Kickstarter, I think around second quarter next year for an expansion called Dulgard's Academy, I believe is what it's called. What I'm hoping is that the coins will be available during that Kickstarter, because I will be getting in on that Kickstarter like I do most Kickstarters, and I'm hoping it'll be available as an add-on, as maybe a cheaper way to get it instead of shipping from directly from their website. Okay. So we advertised, we've assigned. You ready?
I'm ready for the reveal.
I suspect I know what's going to go on here. Yeah. Not exactly what I suspected, but actually I guess you need... I'm just all theater all the time. So we'll see how this works out.
And I'm first.
You're first. So, placing first when more than one person is going to be performing in the theater can be quite key. But it's not who places first performs first. Because as I said, this is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They will go in order. So if you place first and take the Sunday slot so that you get the bonuses for the money and the fame, you actually have last pick of theaters, which can be quite key, especially if you're playing in a 3 or 4 player game. If you do not have tricks set up in each theater and everybody has already performed theaters where your tricks exist, when it comes time for you to actually perform, there's nothing for you to do and you've wasted your actions. Now, you will still get paid. You'll still get the yields of your tricks. They still fire when somebody performs in the theater. But you can only perform in a theater where you have tricks already set up. So, having said that, where would you like to go?
I would like to lock down the Sunday.
You're taking the Sunday. All right, so you're going for the bonus.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as I said, if you're placing your magician, that's all you do, is you're just on stage ready to perform. You don't get any action points to set up any of your tricks. If Susan had gone backstage with her magician, then she'd be setting up and not performing.
I like to think of it as the magician is going to the stage and having a cigar and meditating about how he's going to astonish the audience a bit later. So he's getting in the zone, man, and he's just sitting on the stage.
Don't talk to me.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
I'm getting ready to perform.
I have all these pictures in my head when I'm playing this game. It's so deeply visual. And
it is, yeah. And
amazing.
Just the board itself with all of the locations on the board that I was showing before, it does help you get into the theme of the game.
Very much so.
Okay, so now I need to kind of get into your head, a little mind reading trick here. You're probably going for this theater. So there's multiple things to keep in mind. When you perform in one of the theaters, all tricks get performed, not just your own. So let's say Susan was performing at this theater, which is the next one to actually leave. Both of her tricks would go and I would go. I'm like the headlining act. I get to do my trick and then the main event comes on stage. Each magician gets the yield of the corresponding trick. Whoever the headliner is gets linking bonuses that exist on the card, and then we'll also get bonuses for any specialists backstage. I'll get into that in greater detail when we perform, but we'll also get the theater bonus that is at the bottom of each card. So I'll show you one that we don't have any tokens on. So in the case of this Riverside Theater, there's only the 3 spots here to use. As you can see, the other ones had 4. But whoever performs here gets 1 fame and 1 money. Whereas the ones that currently have tricks in them, well, that one's 1 fame, 1 money. And then this one is just 1 money. as we get into the Grand Megorian theaters, which are the larger theaters, they're going to have stronger bonuses at the bottom. So you might actually want to go for the bonus as opposed to the tricks that are on it. So I will get first pick, but I'm not going to take that Thursday spot because I'd be taking a penalty to my yield. So I'm just going to take Friday or Saturday. It's pretty much irrelevant at this point. But what I will do is I'll place my manager first so that I can start placing prepared tokens out there. So let's see here. I will not be able to link on that, but I could force you to perform it. And what do you have left to put out there? Stocks and scale. Oh, you've already got both tricks out there. Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. I will. That is mechanical. I cannot link with mechanical directly. However, I could get there with a spiritual. So I'll see if I can do this overhead without shaking everything all over the place.
Good luck.
Thanks. So this is the situation in this theater. So you can see that Susan has her mechanical linked with the Trickerion stone or Trickerion shard in that middle ring. So if I place my spirit hand, which is spiritual, so that swirly symbol, the spiritual symbol, is at the top of that red token. I've now linked with the mechanical, and I'm going to get a linking bonus. And while I'm showing this, I'll go ahead and show, I'm also going to place my enchanted butterflies in here, which is an optical, and will link as well with the two eye symbols in that bottom circle. So I'm actually going to link twice. And they are both the first tier, so I will get 1 fame or 1 money for each one. I'll put that there. So first off, that one linked, I get 1 fame or 1 money. I'm going to take the money, and we will each get a shard because we were both in on that link. And then the other one also linked, so I get 1 fame or 1 money. I will take 1 money. Okay. So that was by placing my manager backstage to set up some of the tricks for me.
I am now going to send my assistant backstage. Because I've chosen the Sunday spot, I lose 1 action point. My assistant has 2, so that leaves me with 1 action point. But I've only got 1 preparation of a trick to put up anyhow. So
it's no loss for Susan to place that there. Which one would you like?
Now, I suspect that Michael is going to be performing in this theater, and I want a piece of that action. So I'm going to put my trick in there. There is no link, but it's in.
Yeah. So like I was saying, there's no loss for Susan to place that there with the -1 action point because she only had the 1 to place. She's going just strictly for the yield bonuses here. And like I was saying when we were going over the initial placement in the theater, you can only take 1 day. So it's not like she could take that spot for performing and then go over here for the +1 action point. Once you assign to a day, you're limited to that day and nobody else can place within that day. All right, so back to me. I do have an apprentice that will also go backstage, and I'll get started on that next theater. So I have 1 more, oops, not that one. 1 more token for Spirit Hand, and I'm going to place that. That's an awkward theater to do it in. All right. I'm going to place that token there. Back to you.
All right. Generally, sending one of your apprentices downtown is kind of a futile action. Well, because usually someone else is getting in there, but with 1 action point plus the 2 bonus, it makes it perfectly viable.
And that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It's not too often you can get an apprentice doing anything beneficial for you downtown, but
Yeah.
Susan has pulled it off. Well done.
So I'm going to put him there and take 4 monies.
That's free money. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well done. Yeah, that was well timed on that. And then I have just my magician to place, so he has to go front and center.
And finally, I have an apprentice left who is going to go into the workshop and prepare some more stocks escapes.
Nice.
Stocks escapes. There you go. All right.
Okay, so you get to see your first performances. Here we go. It took us to get to week 3. Normally we do perform by the second week.
Yes. Yeah.
But that was, yeah, we're playing this completely differently. And we do it every time too. We mix things up. So when we go to perform, again, the days are done in order. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So this is going to be my Saturday performance. I get first pick at theaters. As I was saying, this one is just the 1 money bonus, whereas this theater has 1 money and 1 fame. Plus, I've got a couple links in there that will get me more bonuses. So I'm going to perform at the Riverside Theater on Saturday night. I'll just bring this forward. I'll have the opening act start.
All right. My first act is my amazing linking rings.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. My performance of that gets me 2 monies, but since I'm sitting on the Sunday slot, I also get an extra money and a fame out of it. So that's 3 monies and a fame.
1 fame?
Yes.
Okay. Now, those yield bonuses do apply for all of your tricks. I've seen some people get this a little confused. It's not just for the Sunday slot. It's for any time. Even if Susan had only put her assistant backstage, because she did take that Sunday slot, any of her tricks that get performed, regardless of the day they are performed on, get +1 fame, +1 money. So timing, even just setting up tricks, can be quite key if you suspect somebody's going to perform in a theater where you have tricks. All right, and then your second one?
My second one is the stocks escape. I'm not going to mind getting out of stocks. You can all imagine that as you wish. My reward for that is 0 fame +1 for the bonus.
Yep.
2 monies and a shard.
Nice. So 1 money plus the bonus
Yes.
would get you the 2. Yep. Okay, so now it's on to the headlining act. So I've got my enchanted butterflies. I don't know how to, yeah.
Oh, that's
That's only doves,
Yeah.
but yeah. We'll go butterflies, yeah. So that's me 2 fame, no money. And then my spirit hand. I don't even know what a spirit hand. Oh, I have no idea.
It's a hand.
It's a hand. That will net me another 2 fame, 1 money, and 1 shard. Now, on the board, it shows you the bonuses you get, and I love how they do represent everything on the board. If you're unsure of something, everything is represented on here, but it is also, is it in here?
I believe so.
I thought it was. It is not.
Oh.
It just has the end game stuff
Okay.
here. Okay, so I'll run you through on the board. I obviously cannot lift the board up at this point to show you, but it runs you through the performing. It has the hand with the wand is the performance, and it has that symbol above the magician spots as well, because it's showing that you are performing. So when you perform, first thing is each magician gets the yield of their tricks in that theater. So we've already resolved that. Next, for each link, you're going to get another fame. And I've got 2 links there, that's 2 more fame. Then each specialist that you have backstage, so not apprentices, just specialists, will also net you additional bonuses. So if it was an engineer, you'd get 1 more Trickerion shard. If it is a assistant, thank you, it's 2 fame. And if you have a manager backstage, such as I do, I get 3 more money, because the manager can get a better contract for me. Lastly, you get the theater bonus, so 1 more fame, putting me at that 16 threshold. So now I can learn that second tier of trick
Nice.
without having to pay additional money, and 1 money. Tokens then go back into your supply. They do not go back onto the trick. If you want to perform those tricks again, you will have to send somebody to your workshop to prepare those tricks for you. Or yourself could go there as well. All right. That goes back. So that was the Saturday performance. I hope it was entertaining for everybody. On to Sunday.
All right, Sunday is a smaller show at the Riverside Theatre.
And Susan doesn't have any choice here. There is another theater with a token on it, but you can only perform, as I was saying, you can only perform in a theater where you have at least one trick. You don't need to have majority. You just need to have at least one trick set up ready to go.
I would like you to open for me, please.
I'll do the opening act of Enchanted Butterflies, which gets me 2 fame, putting me up to 18. And then over to you.
All right, my linking rings is 0 fame and 2 monies, with the bonus is 1 fame and 3 money.
1 fame, 3 monies, yep.
And finally, my stocks escape. I have troubles with that one. Stocks escape.
Yep.
For 1 fame, 2 money, and a shard.
Yep. And that's counting the bonuses.
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see, those were some pretty sweet bonuses that Susan got because you had 4 tricks in total performed.
Yeah.
So that's an additional 4 fame and 4 money that she received out of that. If you're playing in a 4-player game, though, you're taking a bit of a chance going on Sunday, risking that you might not be able to perform in any theater.
Yes.
In which case, you know, it's
Wow.
you don't get nothing. You still get any tricks that you had prepared in other theaters, but it's nice to get the bonuses like you are about to get. So
Yes.
everybody has performed their tricks. How many links?
I have 1 link.
1 link, so you get 1 more fame for that.
Excellent.
And you have your assistant backstage.
I
That's
do.
another 2 fame,
Nice.
putting you at 17. So you're
Woo.
in that 2nd tier as well. And lastly, the theater bonus, 1 more money.
Perfect.
And that is performing.
As you can see, it's fairly lucrative, and it is kind of the point of the game, so you want to perform as much as possible.
And like I was saying, we normally do by that second week. But I think we were both thinking the same thing where I'm going to wait 1 more week. Let the other player perform, and then I'm going to go in and I'll just set up whatever I want and then perform on my own. But we both thought the same thing and then competed for it. Okay, so that was performing. Now we are ending the round, so we pay our workers. So that cost me 3.
And I'm at 3 as well.
And we get them back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any orders would arrive. Don't have any. Yes.
Interesting. The spirit hand is a hand on the tabletop that taps 1 for yes and twice for no when asked questions. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
the clarification. That was Magic Man 8787.
Tail of the house. Oh, that would be a no. So, yeah. Okay. All right. And I guess Magic Man would know that, wouldn't he?
Yes, you would.
We have a professional in the
Yes,
audience. All right.
yes.
So orders, yes, orders. We don't have any performance cards, so that theater is now gone. So like I said, if there were any tricks left on that theater, they'd actually be removed from the game. So you want to make sure that you perform your tricks before they disappear. Now we have one of the Grand Megorian theaters coming in. So this one has 4 spots, 3 links, 1 for a shard, and the bonus at the bottom, 2 fame, 1 money, so it goes up a little bit. Some of them can get rather lucrative, especially if you're playing in the advanced where you then get, what is the last theater called? Can't remember. I'll have to look at that after. All right, so we've got next theater coming in. Posters. You get to take your poster.
Did we?
Not yet, because I haven't gotten there.
Okay.
But that's next. That's fine. That's fine. Posters, counter, and rolling dice. So we're into the 4th week. Okay, so we finally have a specialist out here. So we have an assistant, and we have the engineer is now available for hire. Only 1 spell, one of them's X'd out, and it's a random, any spell. Or not a random, but a wild. And then money is 3 and 4. So there's some options out there downtown. Initiative order, I am in first, so Susan is still going to be first on the board, that's fine. And advertising.
Yes, please.
So taking 2 fame for 1 money. Do I want to pay 3? All right, I'll pay 3 for 2 fame. And assignment. No, sir. I don't like it. I will need a moment with this. Yes. If you had to guess, what do you think you'd be doing next?
Well, the folks at home probably know because they saw me lay my cards down.
That's true.
they're not gonna
I
help
won't
you.
look at chat. That's fine. Chat, help me. Oh, I don't know if I can pull that off. So if I did that. Huh. Okay. Oh boy. Oh wait. Yeah, oh boy. Okay. I need more people. Having that extra assistant is really nice, or the extra apprentice is really nice.
Tis.
All right. Ready?
Ready.
Oh god. You're going to perform again. Oh boy. That scares me. You're first.
All right. I am sending my assistant downtown.
Dope. All right.
Where I'm going to learn.
Remember that time when I when I left downtown open for you?
I do.
Go ahead.
But you still
Go
have
ahead.
3 action points, so
Sure.
you should be able to do what you need
You'd think, right?
to do.
You'd think. You go ahead. Do
You'd
what you're
think.
going to do. Yeah.
All right. So, I'm going to learn a new
You don't want
trick.
money? Or maybe hire somebody?
I don't.
So you see what you're about to block me out of? You'd think I'd have the action points to do it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's the sympathy, right? So like I said, there was an X on one spot for learning a new trick and a wild on the other. Learn whatever you want, but whenever you do one of those actions, you turn it to an X. There are now no tricks available to learn, and that's where I wanted to send myself. All right, so this might get a little dicey.
So I'm going to learn the 2nd tier trick of walled. Did you want to show that?
Sure.
It's kind of creepy, the
Yeah.
guy reaching out of the wall.
Yeah, we've got a guy that's walled up, and you can see there's some pretty serious component requirements on that one, and pretty sweet yield as well. So 3 metal, 3 wood, and a padlock.
Which conveniently I already have.
Conveniently.
Conveniently.
Okay. And you do have an extra action point.
I could re-roll a dice.
Yeah. So if she wanted to, she could re-roll. Do you want to maybe roll one of those?
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That would just be trying to get me something. But she could, the opposite of rolling one of those. She could just roll something to try and deny getting for myself. So like there's four coins available. She could try and roll lower, or she could try and get rid of. There is a specialist available. She could roll that to see if she can actually remove that option off the board.
Well, it's not really a guilt trip, Mark, because he was awfully good to me earlier on in the game. I don't know if you were tuned in at that point in time. But
Pack your bags. We're going on a guilt trip.
He was...
No. I fully endorse strategic play in all games.
Hello, Gil. It's really hard to tell who's winning at this point in time.
Yeah, right now the actual points that are out there, it's 21-19 for myself, but that does not really mean much.
No, we've still got...
it's a very close game.
Pretty much 2 rounds to go, so it's...
Very close.
Yeah.
So you're not using the last action point?
I'm not using the last action
Okay.
point.
So, that is so awkward.
Which begs the question why I sent her there, but let's just let that go for now. That was perhaps hashtag poor life choices. But.
Well, you made it, right? So I could go downtown. I could spend a shard to get 1 additional action point to then roll one of those to try and get exactly what I need. Oh, boy. Well, there's no... oh, no, there is a rush. Oh, my whole turn was based on that. Okay. Here we go. Going downtown. I want to learn a specific trick that is not there. So I will spend a shard. I will roll a die. Not what I wanted. Oh, no. Shoot. You got me again, Anderson. Okay, I guess I'll hire a specialist then.
Needs of the one. I remember the good old days when Michael would just hate draft for the win. That doesn't sound like him at all.
No. Not at all. I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. I'm calling an audible. I've got to change my plans. I was really hoping to get one of those second tier tricks into my repertoire, but not available. What is available? Optical, and I don't think there's anything that I would have the components for. No. Not even available in the market. Wow. Yep. Okay, so I have to change my plans. So I'm going to hire the engineer. So, engineer you have not seen in play yet.
We actually rarely get him into play.
Yeah, it's not too often we get him.
Or her.
Or her, yeah, depending on which side you're going to show. So I'll show this again. Engineer, so again, you've got the female or male option. And there are a couple additional symbols here for use in the workshop. So the way the engineer works, it is the 4th spot for a 4th trick, which is irrelevant for me because I can't even get the 3rd trick going. But for 1 action point, you can move one of your tricks onto the engineer's board. And then when you take the prepare action, you actually get to prepare 1 additional instance of that trick. So if it would normally have 2, you get to put 3 tokens on it. So you get a little more efficient. Now, this won't be doing me much good right now, except for the fact that in the base game, each specialist you have will be worth 3 fame. So basically what I've just done is I got myself 3 fame. I might be able to make use, actually no, I won't. It won't serve me any purpose. Okay. You did it to me there, Anderson.
That was a bad roll. It wasn't deliberate.
I'm kidding. Over to you.
All right.
As a matter of fact, I actually would have encouraged you to roll that to get rid of that option.
Oh.
That would have been a hate draft type move. Just roll the specialist to see if an X comes up, because it's 50-50 of having a specialist out there. And then even if it was a specialist, if it was a manager, I wouldn't be able to hire them. So there would only be a 1 in 3 chance that she'd re-roll something favorable for me. She'd actually have a chance of getting rid of it. But
All right, I'm going to send one of my apprentices to the workshop to prepare my linking rings trick.
You're going to the theater with yourself, huh?
Yes.
So I can see that Susan has her magician set up to go to the theater. She has no tokens in the theater, so obviously she's not going to perform. She's going to set up some tricks in the theater. So I'm going to wait her out. I do have my apprentice sitting here ready to go and prepare one trick for me. I will wait until Susan has started preparing, and then I'll see which theater she's in, and I'll start linking onto what she's doing. So at least I'll get something out of that. So I'll send, before I can do that, I do need to prepare some tricks. So I'm sending my manager to my workshop. I could spend an action to move one over to my engineer so that I get the extra preparation, but we've only got, this is a shortened version. We'll get into the differences between this and the expansion later. I've only got tonight and tomorrow, so having the extra preparation of that trick is not going to do me any good. So I'll just use the 2 actions to prepare both of my tricks. That's me. Over to you.
I'm going to send my second apprentice to the workshop to prepare my new trick, Walled.
And just like that, I was not able to wait out Susan because she still has one more action, so I do have to use or lose this apprentice now. So it's either I place him in the theater or I'd be flipping the card face down. I can't just pass. So I will go to the theater, and I will at the very least take the Thursday spot, so I do get the 2 actions. I know that Susan won't be doing any performances, which means I don't need to worry about the penalty to yields on tricks. 2 action points means I can prepare 2 tricks, and I think is that the best way for me to do it? What is the best way for me to do it? Actually, the best way for me to do it is not place any on that one, so I know that this theater is gone.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to start taking up some spots out there. So let's see here. I'm going to see if I can get a link on that shard on my own. So I have optical, and I have spiritual. No, there's no way I can do that on my own. All right, so I'm going to place, that is my spirit hand, and I'm going to show something actually that I've seen this mistake made before. So showing this card, you can see there's 3 links at that Grand Megorian Theater. There is no circle here. So even though you could have tokens placed like that, even though those 2 eyes do actually meet up, you do not get a linking bonus for that because there is no circle there. And I've actually watched some videos where people were scoring that as a link. Just because they're adjacent does not mean it's a link. They need to be within those circles to officially be a link. So I have the spade is optical. So I'll do that way, and then the heart is spiritual. Ooh, actually I could get a link over there. Okay, here we go. So my enchanted butterflies, I will place that into the Riverside Theater. No, I won't. Yes, I will. Spiritual. No, I won't. Never mind. Okay. I thought I had it. Spade is optical, going this way, and spiritual going this way. Okay. Very puzzly with how you work those out, trying to squeeze out as many benefits as possible. That is me.
All right, and now I'm going to send my magician to the theater just for trick prep.
Mm-hmm.
He's already taken the Thursday. I cannot go on the Thursday, so I will go on the Friday, which gives me 3 action points.
I can move some over if you wish. Or can you see them from there?
Yeah.
You're good? We know you're not performing here, so if you want, I can slide these down. Your linking rings could go there. I left that open as a mechanical option, if you wish.
The mechanical is the least lucrative of my tricks, so I was, well, I'll still get it into play, I suppose.
Yep.
So
So Gil's saying that Mindclash is the only publisher with 2 games on his top 10. Yeah, I'm enjoying all of their stuff for sure, and happily looking forward to Cerebria. That one's looking quite good. Went in for the painted miniatures on that one.
Okay, so that and that. Now I'll link with. Bear with me, kids. I'll link there because that's my
Hate
second
draft.
tier.
Yeah. Okay, so before you go into the second tier, let's cover this. So you went with your spade, which is linking rings, and you did link there.
Yes.
So that is a tier 1.
Yes.
So you get 1 fame or 1 money.
I'll take the fame.
Okay. And then it did link on the shard space. So we each get a shard because we were both involved in that. And then the club is linking, which escape with the links.
Yes.
Doesn't link here, but it does link here.
Yes.
So again, you get, and that is the second tier.
Yes.
So you get 2 fame or 2 money.
I'll take the fame.
Yes, you will. All right, so that's that theater covered. And if she had linked in 2 spots, she would get 2 bonuses. And if you want, I can move this down.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, of course I did indeed. Ziggy Bobinator saying, of course I went in on the painted miniatures for Kickstarter. What's the highest tier? I'll take that, please.
Yes.
I have a problem.
Yes.
Somebody help me. Actually, I don't have a problem. My wallet has the problem.
All right, I can't link that one, but I want to get that walled.
Okay, so you want to get that second tier out there.
Yes.
Yep. All right. Slide this back up here. And that is all the placement done.
Yes.
All right. So there's no performances happening. So we're on to paying wages. So I've got 3 to pay. Oh, I'm cutting it close.
I as well.
I'm going to stop at that point. So if you cannot pay any of your workers, you must pay. If you have money, you cannot decide not to pay. You must pay if you have any money. If you cannot pay, then you lose 2 fame for every coin that you are unable to pay. And that is a very steep price. You do not want to be paying that penalty. So pay very close attention to how much money you have. You need enough to be able to pay your employees. All right, and then we get our guys back. And I'm going to get, so I took the engineer card, so I do get the engineer disc. So like any other specialist, the engineer has 2 action points as a base. Each specialist is going to be 2 action points. And they become available at the end of the round that you hired them. Orders, we don't have any moving the performance cards. This one is out. These rotate around. And we have our last theater coming in, and here's a more complex one. Another Grand Magorian theater. There's 5 with 4 potential links that can be made and 3 coin as a performance bonus for the headlining act. Posters come off. Yeah, might as well leave them there, eh?
Yeah.
And turn counter. So we're into the final week. This is it. And this is close. We're a point difference, but I'm 1 point behind, which means I'm actually going to get to go first, which could be key. We shall see. And we're going to roll dice. So, order is correct. Advertise, yes please. 1 coin gets me 2 fame.
And I will as well.
You've got the money. So at the end of the game, just so you know the ratios, because we are getting to that point, at the end of the game, every 3 coins you have will get you 1 fame. So in this case, Susan can advertise 3 coins, will actually get her 2 fame. So there might as well if she has the money to do it. Early in the game, it's a bit of a risk. 3 coins for 2 fame. You might need those coins to, like I said, pay your employees or grab components. But towards the end of the game, that's a better return than the end of the game award for money.
Don't be knocking the 7th continent, Ziggy Bobinator. That's just low.
What has she said?
She said that she doesn't back the big games like you, like Gloomhaven or
Right.
7th continent.
I didn't go in on Gloomhaven, not because I didn't want to, but I did not see that get into the table in the fashion that it needs and deserves, because it is such a big game. 7th Continent I did go in on,
yeah.
and we've actually been enjoying that.
Yeah.
I would love to be posting more pictures of 7th Continent, but I don't want to be doing any spoilers. So any pictures I've posted on Instagram have been more close-up shots and not really showing anything aside from how much I'm enjoying that game. Okay, so we've advertised, and we're down to our last assignment phase. This is it.
Oh, I know you're not saying they're bad.
No, for those big games, if you don't see it getting to the table, like Gloomhaven, you need a committed party, ideally, to play that and get into the RPG aspect of it. Otherwise, yeah, there's no point. Same thing with something like a legacy game, like Pandemic Legacy, for example. Obviously, nowhere near the price point, but we have a dedicated group of 4 of us that have been playing through that. If you don't have the group, there's really no point in buying it, because you need to have the same people going through something like that. Now, having said that, I do have more legacy games already around that have just been sitting around because we're waiting to finish Pandemic Legacy before we carry on. But I digress. On to what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay.
If you were to guess, where do you think you might perform?
You know what? If I was to guess, I'd probably be wrong because I hadn't even thought that far ahead
Okay,
yet.
okay.
I need to figure out what I can perform first. I've left myself in an awkward situation. So the awkward situation I'm in right now is I do have 2 tricks with only 1 preparation token on each, which means I can't actually get any more tokens on them without putting them on the board. But if I throw somebody backstage to throw those on the board, I won't have enough actions left to prepare them again and somebody else to then throw more on. So I'm a little handcuffed, and I don't have the stocks escape to be able to get out of those handcuffs. You've got that trick sitting there. I mean, what makes you think I'm going to perform?
I have regrets about putting Wald up in that theater. I'm not sure that it's going to get performed.
It might not
there.
fire, right?
Yeah, yeah. Which makes me wonder if I should do another preparation, which means I don't have enough actions. And
Yeah.
oh boy, so many regrets.
Yep. Oh boy. This could go horribly wrong. Let's see. I don't know if I have everything accounted for.
You ready?
Almost.
You ready, cowboy?
Almost. So if I do that and then, oh boy.
We
Oh,
were
let's just do it.
speaking of Analysis paralysis before, were we not?
Yeah, okay, let's see. I have a chance. I'm going to see if I can get that last trick that I wanted. It's not there. I still need to get lucky, but oh boy. Okay.
Totally prayer hands.
Yes. Okay. I get to go first. So now what's more important? Oh boy, what is more important? How many actions do I need? It would be great to get those extra actions on the Thursday, but it's at the detriment of taking the penalty to the yields. I don't know if I want to do that, but I also can't really afford one less action backstage for prepping, because as it is, you can see if I'm going to perform, my magician is going to have to be front stage, which only leaves me with my manager for preparing tricks. So if I put my manager on the Sunday, I can only prepare one trick. That's no good. So what does this mean? Oh, I don't know. What does this mean? I think it means I'm going to leave it to you. I'm going to leave it to you to pick. Although there's no conflict anywhere else. Okay. Oh boy. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to send my manager backstage, and I'm going to take Friday. So no. I'm going downtown. I need to get the trick first because I want to prepare the second tier trick. So I need to get it first. Yeah, let's see. I may have made a mistake here. So I've got 4 action points. My engineer has 2. I get 2 additional being there. I cannot risk not rolling what I need. Although
For 2. For if you spend
Yep,
a shard.
yep, if I spend a shard. But no, that is what I need.
Oh.
I need mechanical. Okay, I need mechanical. I'm going to learn Vanishing Birdcage.
Where did it go?
I don't know.
I don't
It
see
vanished.
it.
Can you pass me the mechanical stack? Or just the Vanishing Birdcage tier 2?
If I can find your vanishing birdcage.
By the nature of Vanishing
Yes,
Birdcages,
I
I
don't
have
see it.
no idea where that is. Yes. Okay, there's my 3rd trick. Now the question is, can I get it out there? That leaves me with 1 action point. There's, hey, let's roll a die. Oh, look at that.
Oh,
Denial of money.
denial.
But nobody's going there anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, over to you.
All right, so I'm in the same situation that Michael was in. Oof.
And like that, the audience vanishes in a puff of smoke.
I'm sorry.
I think I've done something wrong.
Yes,
If that's what happened.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
I need to go back and work on that trick just a little bit more.
I am going to send
Nice earworm Ziggy Bobinator.
my apprentice to the workshop
Okay.
and charge up my wald.
Okay.
Thereby
Yeah.
pushing that
Back to me,
decision
eh?
you.
Well, I still have to prepare my trick anyway. And technically I could have put this trick over here, but really it's irrelevant because I'm not going to get to use... no, I won't get to use all of them. But technically that should have gone on my engineer. So I will be sending my apprentice to my workshop. 1 action point, and that's all I need because I cannot prepare these tricks with 1 token on them. So I can only prepare the 1 trick. I only need the 1 action point for that one. I haven't shown that. So here's the Vanishing Bird Cage. Did I show that? I don't think I showed that. Here's the Vanishing Bird Cage. Requires a cog, and I actually purchased that in round 2 and just have not been able to grab the trick since then. 2 animals, which I do have, thank you to my manager, and 2 cloth, which I already have as well. 1 preparation, I'll get 2 tokens on it, but because it's on the engineer, I'll get 3, which are relevant on the last day, and not bad in terms of yield for performing it. So 1 action point means I do get 3 tokens. That is me.
All right, I have to make a move to the theater. Magic Man 8787 wants to know who's making miniatures for this game.
That's something I don't even need to. I can't consider that. It would be an instant buy if it happened.
Yeah.
And is it needed? No, of course not. But to have magicians on the spots in the actual, don't even.
That would be amazing.
Don't even drop that as a suggestion. Yeah. And then I'd want to paint them, and oh yeah. You're not good for my wallet.
Alrighty, I'm going to send my assistant to the theater for Friday.
Okay.
She has 2 action points.
Yeah.
So I will take my 2 escape tricks.
Oh, and they are both escape.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
And link them thusly.
Yeah. So Susan's actually linking because they are both the same school of magic. It's very easy to almost drop those. It's very easy to create a link with the same school of magic because you just put them together. And she put those over the shard. Now, she used 2 of her own to do that. She does not get 2 shards. It's only 1 shard per magician that is within that link. And she's the only one, so she's the only one that gets a link. Now, we'll say that you put down the Stocks Escape first,
I absolutely
which means
did.
the second one she put down to create the link was a tier 2, so she gets to take 2 fame or 2 money.
And I will take the fame.
Are you sure?
I am.
Can you pay all your guys?
I think so.
All right. I just wanted to try and instill a bit of panic in you.
Yeah, no panic.
Okay, so what does this mean for me? Do I want to perform first? Oh boy. Or do I want to perform best? I don't know what that means. Okay, well, I'm going to send my manager backstage. If I go on the Thursday, that would give me the 3 action points I need to actually get all 3 tricks out there. However, I'd be taking that. I'd be taking that hit to the yield. So 5 tricks. That's 5 fame and 5 money I'd be losing. I don't think that's worth it. But then I'd also get to pick the theater first. Oh, this is tricky.
No guts, no glory. You're being egged on big time by the other one.
Of course I am. Okay, you know what?
Oh, you did it.
Yeah.
Well done, you.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll go on the Thursday. Oh boy, that might be a mistake, but let's find out. So I do get to prepare 3 tricks, and I do have 3 tricks to set up, I should say. You prepare them in your workshop, you set them up backstage. Okay, so this will take a second. I know I'm only working with this theater, so that makes it a bit easier. My club, thank you. That's fine, leave that one down. My club, so I'm going to hit the curtain there. My club trick is mechanical. Okay. And that is a tier 2. So my club trick I will put here. That links. Tier 2, I get 2 fame or 2 money. I'm taking the 2 fame. Next up is Enchanted Butterflies, is optical. which I can link that way. Tier 1, 1 fame. And then my last one, the heart, is my spirit hand, which cannot create a link, but it is the only spot left. There is a spot left on this theater, but I don't see either of us performing that one. At least I've put the pressure on Susan. If she doesn't want all of my tricks to get performed, she would have to perform on that one, which does not have her higher level trick.
It does actually.
Your walled
Yeah.
is club. Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Interesting. But do you want to do just the one?
I don't
Anyway,
think so.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was those placed. Back to you.
All right. Because both of the theaters are full at this point in time, that makes my second assistant, my second apprentice, really kind of a moot point. So.
Okay, and then I will go front and center on the Thursday. We'll see if that was a mistake. I don't know. And we're down to performing.
We're down to performing.
Okay. So now it's a matter of which theater do I wish to perform in. I do get first pick, and that's one of the main reasons I took Thursday. 1, 2, 3 links would be 3 fame, 2 fame with 2 links, so 4 fame if I perform there. I think that is the way to go. Yep, I'm going to perform here. The Grand Megorian on Thursday evening. Brought to you by The Gentleman. The Gentleman. Would you like to be the opening act?
Certainly. I will first perform my linking rings for 2 coins. And next is my walled, which is 3 fame.
Yeah, it is.
1, 2, 3. 2 coins and a shard.
Very nice. All right. Headlining act is Enchanted Butterflies, which gets me 2 fame and no money, but performing on the Thursday, -1 fame. You can't go to a negative, so I don't have to pay $1 to be performing my tricks, but I only get 1 fame for that. Yeah, I don't know. This might be a mistake. We'll see. And then the Vanishing Birdcage. No, it is the Spirit Hand. 2 fame, 1 money, and a shard, which means I will only get 1 fame, no money, and a shard. That is that one. We can put these ones away later. That's fine. And then it looks like you're performing on the Friday
All right.
at the Grand Megorian.
Despite the fact that I only have 2 tricks, I'm still going to make Michael open for me.
Yep. I have the lesser tricks, apparently, which I do because I'm still taking that Thursday. As I was saying, it doesn't matter where you are. If you've assigned yourself to the Thursday, you get that penalty on all of your yields for each trick, regardless of the day they're performed on. So in a sense, these are lesser tricks. So Enchanted Butterflies, I will get 1 fame. Spirit Hand, it nets 1 fame and 1 shard. And then finally I get to perform Vanishing Birdcage 1 time and 1 time only for your eyes. That's me. 1 fame, that's not so exciting. 2 money because of the penalties, oh boy, and a shard. I don't know, the Thursday may have been a mistake, we'll see. Over to you.
All right. First up is my ever exciting Stocks Escape for no fame, but I do get a money and a shard out of it.
Yep.
And the grand finale is my walled, which is...
Sorry, before we carry on,
Yes.
that is your grand finale.
Yes.
I did not carry on with everything else on here.
No, you're
I
right.
performed,
you did not.
yes. My mistake. I didn't take the bonuses, which could be very key. There were 2 links on here,
Yes.
so I do get 2 fame for that. I was thinking, how did I not get more? And then I did have my manager backstage,
Yes.
which gets me 3 coins. And finally, The bonus on that theater is 2 fame and 1 money. Okay, sorry to interrupt your fantastic display here.
See, he has to steal the show.
No, I
even if
don't.
It's my grand
no,
finale.
I don't. All right, so it is your walled trick. Yep.
Which is 3 fame,
3 fame.
2 pennies,
Yep.
and another shard.
Okay. And
now for my links, I have 1, 2, 3 links.
3 links. Yep. 1, 2, 3. And who do you have backstage?
I have my
You have an
assistant
assistant backstage. Another 2 fame, all tied up, and 3 money. Oh, this is a close one. So that is the final performance. So now, on the back of the, actually I'll show it up here, be a little easier. No, I'll show it over here. On the back of the Magician Workbook, this shows you game end scoring. So we're playing base game. Here's the breakdown of what you get for points. So every shard is a point, every 3 money is a point. Each apprentice is 2, and then each specialist is 3. If you were playing the Dark Alley expansion, the breakdown would be a little different. So having said that, first up,
Well, we need to, pay
Shards?
our...
oh yes, sorry, pay our
dudes.
dudes. So with my extra specialist, I do have to pay 5 for that. Whew.
And I chose the wrong assistant to leave back in the corral, because the one that I don't have to pay is sitting there twiddling his thumbs.
But you didn't know at the time
Yeah,
which ones you were
yeah.
going to need. So yeah, that's you don't know which one was going to be more important.
True that.
Okay, so we have paid our guys. That is it for that. So now we're on to the final scoring. So each shard is worth a point. I've got 5.
I have 8.
Oh boy. 5 puts me at 40. 8 puts you at 43. Each 3 monies gets you 1. I have 6, so I get 2. Oh boy. Running away with it.
I have this much money.
18, so I'll get you
Yeah.
to 6. It's 49. Nice. Each apprentice gets you 2. I've only got 1, so I got 2. And you've got 2.
Yep.
Because Susan did start with the extra 1, put you up to 53. And then each specialist gets you 3. So you have with the 1 specialist for 56. And I have the 2 for an extra 6, puts me
Nice.
at 50. 56. I after the stream, I might have to go and see what would have been different if I went on the Saturday instead of. But you know what? I don't think it would have made a difference. Because I would have gotten a little extra fame, but then you'd get to pick the theater first, so it would be hard to figure out. But I don't know. Anyway, there you go. That is the base game of Trickerion. Hopefully, I know that. What are we looking at here? 2.5. That's not too bad. I actually expected that might go a little longer, so that's not too bad. That was obviously with a lot of explanation. There was 45 minutes up front plus explaining throughout. So I think we can, as a 2-player game, get through the base in under an hour. As a matter of fact, I think the box does say it's 30 minutes per magician. And yeah, we can get through a base game in under an hour, just the 2 of us. So that timing is pretty bang on. It extends, though, once you get into the expansions. So hopefully that did get through things clearly. There was a lot to go through. I will now discuss expansion stuff. Now, expansion, I say expansion, it's the Dark Alley expansion that actually is in the box. I'm going to cover that first. What that changes is it actually gives you a whole new area on the board. So there is a second side to the board. On the back side, it almost looks the same. It changes some of the artwork because technically it is now a new city. The city has grown. Represented here, I didn't point this out at the beginning, but you have the 3 theaters represented in the middle of the board. So you have the Riverside Theater, the Grand Majorian, and then one that's under construction. When you flip this over, you will actually have the 3rd theater, and I'm drawing the Magnus Pantheon. Yes, Magnus Pantheon would be the 3rd theater that gets built. And that would be 2 more theater cards coming out, because it is then played over the course of 7 weeks. So you get 7 rounds, which I feel
Oh, yes.
you need those extra 2 rounds. Definitely play the base game when you first start playing, because it does take a while to wrap your head around the order of everything and how you need to play it all out. The tricky part is because you're assigning everything at the same time, because it is simultaneous action selection. You're assigning all your workers at once. And if you go to start placing them and then realize you forgot a key moment, that might be an entire round burned. So it's not like other worker placements where you're just placing one worker at a time and can just kind of work through, okay, I need this now, and then I need this now. You need to plan the whole round out ahead of time. So definitely play the base game a couple times to get a feel for how the game flows. But after that, I think the 7 rounds is key. You know, I had just got my 2nd level trick, and that will happen quite often where you might not get it until later, and then you only get to perform it once. 2 more rounds makes a huge difference. Then you can actually perform it 2 or 3 times and start getting a nice engine going with all of the bonuses. The back side of the board. So I'll start showing all the alley cat symbols that correspond to the Dark Alley expansion. First off, so that was our player card. The back side of the player card, you can see each one is actually going to have its own unique ability. So you want to start playing into your magician's strengths. So for example, with the gentleman, anytime, let's see here, anytime I go to basically any location that is not the theater, I'm going to get a fame for every trick I have learned, which can be huge. And that basically represents me doing magic everywhere.
Yes.
I don't need to be at the theater to perform magic. I can just go downtown and perform street magic, and I will get 2 fame, or a fame for every trick that I have learned. So learn 3 or 4 with an engineer, and now I'm getting 4 fame no matter where I place my magician, which is great. Well, minus the theater. So each magician will have their own unique abilities, which changes the game quite a bit. The back side of the board also has, I won't show the whole board here, but has that alley cat, has the stray cat here that represents the Dark Alley expansion. What changes on here, it's not a huge change, but it is showing in your player card area that you play with that expansion. And then there's the Trickerion shards shown down the side of the board. Now that is a separate expansion called Magician. Those are Magician abilities. You don't need to play with those. Those come in the Dalgard's Gifts expansion, which is sold separately. So I'm not going to cover that yet. I'll cover that at the end. But it does represent that you're using the Dark Alley side of your card. Next up, something else that is different, because you are playing a little bit longer, you also get to use that 3rd tier of trick. So you've got a threshold of 36 now. You need to get to 36 fame or pay the difference. These are going to be more complicated tricks, but you can see the yield, 9 fame, 4 money. That's fantastic. And additional points here at the end of the game if you can meet the requirements on it. Some of them are not easy. If you have 4 tricks, if you've learned 4 tricks, you get an additional 10 fame. For every superior, for every advanced, so like I'll show this. For every advanced component you have, 2 fame. So that one's easy. It's just the number of them. But some of them you need to actually accomplish different things. Like this one is representing all 3 specialists, an additional 12 fame. So if you have those 3rd tier tricks in your repertoire and accomplish whatever is on the bottom, you're going to get even more points out of it. Whether you've performed that or not, you'll get additional points. And then the biggest difference is, I would say, the Dark Alley itself.
Yes.
So it's the Dark Alley expansion. It opens up a 4th area that you'll be able to go to. Do I want to flip? You know what? I'll show it. We'll just slide these aside. it's worth showing because it does make a big difference. All right. So the dark alley. So there's the dark alley. Now, again, you've got 4 spots to go. Same thing, you've got 2 additional action points, 1, 1, and 0. And then there's the oracle sitting here with these 3 circles plus 1 here. I'll explain what that does. So when the dark alley is set up, there's 4 spots here for 4 sets of cards, if you don't mind passing me the cards. These get you additional action cards or assignment cards. So when you use the dark alley expansion, instead of starting with 3 theater cards and 2 for everything else, you will only start with 2 theater, 1 for everything else, and a dark alley card. So it makes it a little trickier at the start to get multiple workers into the same location because you'll have 1 less of each location plus the dark alley. However, one of the benefits of going to the dark alley is getting these additional action cards that have powers on them. So you've got the 4 different locations represented here that you can go to: theater, your workshop, the market, and downtown. And each one will have an additional ability. So let's see here. I'll find one that doesn't have a lot of reading so you're not just listening to me talk the whole time. Investments. So if I used this action card and assigned it to one of my characters, it's titled Investments. You may immediately spend any amount of the received money to buy up to 3 components available at Market Row. So you're now more efficient because you go downtown, you get the money, and immediately get to spend it to buy components. And that's what all of these cards do, is they make your actions more efficient. One-time use, though. Once you use it, it's then gone out of the game. And whether you use it or not, it's going to be gone. If you assign it, it's going to be gone. Now, let's say you assign it and realize, I can no longer use that because, in the case of the investments, the money's gone. Somebody took the money before you got there. In the bottom right corner is a +1 action point. So every card has that. So you can always use it as a +1 action point. And if you don't use them, if you keep them in your hand, they will also be worth points at the end of the game. So looking at the breakdown with the Dark Alley expansion, shards are still worth a point each. Money is still worth a point for every 3. These are the specialized assignment cards. They're worth 2 fame each. And then it's a variable fame for those 3rd tier of tricks. But you can see that these are no longer worth points. You don't get any points for specialists or for apprentices. But very much worth the expansion. Again, it's in the box. This isn't a separate purchase, but very much worth playing with those because those add a lot of variability to play and strengths. So the the last section is that oracle I was mentioning.
The creepy fortune teller dude, as Ziggy Bobinator notes.
Yes, definitely. These are the oracle tokens. So that's the back of them, showing that black cat. And then I'll show the front of some. So there's a handful of these tokens, and they all represent different things that will happen different days. So when you set up with 3 tokens with the oracle. The first day, there is no active ability. But at the end of every day during your refresh phase, Whichever token is here moves in as an active one. These rotate around, and then you'll have a new one come in. These affect the entire day while it's active. So for example, this token is when you spend a Trickerion shard to get an extra action point, you actually get 2 action points. So it makes it more efficient for using your Trickerion shards. But some of them could be negatives as well. It might take me some time to find one, but trust me, there are negative ones in there that hurt. So you need to be paying very close attention to what is going to be coming up. You know the order, you know what will be coming in, and you need to plan ahead for that. But you can also change the future. The last action that's available at the Dark Alley, so you can take these cards, and the rate that you take those cards, 1 action point gets you your first one. Every card after that is an additional 2 action points. And you can spend 1 action point to actually rotate those tokens. So you can change the future, as magicians do. Do they? I don't know. So that is the Dark Alley expansion. Now, I think that's everything in Dark Alley. The other expansion I'm going to mention is actually a separate purchase called Dalgard's Gifts. Some of it is just cosmetic, like for example, you would only have these tokens. They're just cylinders for tracking your fame and for the advertising, whereas if you get the Dalgard's Gifts, you would have these magician meeples with the little top hats.
They're magical.
They are. So you would have a set of 4 of those. You would get the acrylic stone, whereas normally in the base game, not sure what I do with it. It's just a cardboard token. I've got that somewhere in the box. And what else? You get an additional set of shards, and you get 8 additional of these special assignments. But more importantly, you get Duel of the Magicians and Magician Powers. And I, in a 2-player game, will not, with the exception of doing the stream just to show the base game, will not play without these cards. So Duel of the Magicians, it's showing you the dueling hands there, the dueling magician hands. But on the front, as you saw, we were playing with the middle 2 spots blocked out, just leaving the far left and the far right open. What this does is every day you're going to have different spots blocked out. So if this was the currently active card, the only spots available at downtown would be the 1 action point and 0 action points. But if you were to go to the market, then it would be the 2 and 1 additional action points would get played. So you need to prepare a little bit better. You'll always see, you'll have the current one face up and the next one face up. So you'll always know what the next day is going to bring in terms of availability at the various locations. So it almost makes it feel more like a 3 or 4 player game with your options changing every round. And you need to plan your, if it was a day like this one, then going to the Dark Alley is going to be weaker, no matter even if you're the first player there. That's going to be a weaker action. Whereas some of them with the 2 and 1 spots open, you know that you're going to get more actions out of that spot. So that for the Duel of Magicians. And am I missing anything there?
That's all I can think of.
Yeah. And then Magician Powers. Now these ones, the Magician Powers were not entirely sold on Magician Powers. This adds a lot of variability to the game, almost to the point of too much, in the sense that, how can I explain this? So Magician Powers, you're going to get a set of these cards, and they're all going to have unique powers on them. And they will show you, so let's see here. They will show you on the right side which spots they can go into. So remember I was showing you my board. And along that left side where all the Trickerion shards are, there's 4 spots. So the bottom one has 1 shard going all the way up to the top one having 4 shards. That's where you put your Trickerion shards as you get them. So if you have 1 shard, it starts at the bottom. That unlocks that bottom spot. Get 2 more shards, it unlocks the second spot. So on and so forth all the way up to the top. So looking at that card again, it shows that it can go in one of these 2 spots once you have them unlocked, and then you would have this power available. And there are 3 tiers of abilities. So you've got the 1 fame, 16 fame, 36 fame, similar to the trick levels as well, that will go up those sides. It's nice for variability, but we found that there were some that were almost a little overpowered, and it's just luck of the draw at the start of the game in terms of which ones you have. So if you get a crappy draw, it might be a little tough to combat somebody that has a really strong draw at the start. But we haven't played with those a lot.
Not really.
No. So that'll require more experimentation on our part to see if we want to be playing with those or not. That is not part of the Dark Alley. You don't need to be playing with those for the Dark Alley expansion. Okay, that was a lot of talking. I think, oh, no, there is one more thing. I knew there was something for Duel of the Magicians. The theaters. The theaters changed for Duel of the Magicians. So a normal theater, and this happens at all levels. That would be a normal theater card, the Riverside Theater. That's the Duel of Magicians card. So it has that Dueling Magician symbol on it again. The difference is it starts with 1 grayed out token already on it, which is very important because in 2 players, as you saw, the first magician to place their tricks doesn't really have an opportunity to link other than with his own or her own. But in this case, first one in already has a token that they can be linking off on, and you'll have 3 theaters out there, so there'll be 3 tokens for you to work with at one point. So being the first one in doesn't penalize you. You could actually benefit off of that. So that's a nice bonus as well. All right, I think that is it. Hopefully that was a good explanation. Hopefully that can get this to the table easier. Have I left anything out?
Not that I can think of.
You enjoy this game?
Oh, I love this game, especially, well, it was a bit of a shock to go back to the basic game because we're so used to the add-ons and the extras that paring it down to basic, it feels like half a game, quite honestly. There's only 5 turns and so less movements that you can do. So it was a shock, but I love the game, and the more complexity, the merrier, I think.
Yeah, I do think the base game is a needed play the first time or 2 that you play the game, just to wrap your head around that, like I was saying. But once you've played that, get into the Dark Alley. Yes. The Dark Alley adds so much flavor to it as well. Yeah, it's much better with that. He's
offering you candy to go into the Dark Alley.
Yes, come into the Dark Alley. Yes, I did see somebody comment on the insert, and that is indeed Meeple Realty. Yes, and fantastic. It makes setup much easier. Yeah, I think that's about it. So there you go. If there is interest in seeing the Dark Alley actually played, that's something we could potentially do in the future. Let us know if it is something you want to see. And what we would do at that point is I wouldn't bother explaining everything that we've covered in the base game. We'd just go into playing, and I'd just cover what the expansions bring at that point, because it is a 7-round game. So we might hit the same time point potentially, maybe even a little quicker, and you'd get to see the full game, what we consider the full game at that point. Yeah, the 7 rounds makes a huge difference.
It does.
Yep. All right. Aside from that, this will be available on Dice Tower as well after the fact, and also on To Die For Games next week or 2 weeks. I'll have it posted there as well. You can find us here every Monday, 8 o'clock Eastern. Susan is here occasionally whenever Mandy is not. And we might get Susan out here as well for a 3-player game, maybe. We'll see. Twist your arm to get you out here. There's some games that I'd like to get some 3 player games going. But yeah, aside from that, hopefully, I thank you for everybody in the chat for joining. Enter the Dark Alley. Yes, enter the Dark Alleys of Ziggy Bobinator. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'll see you next week.
Bye now.
Bye.